Yunwu stood quietly listening, as if it was not her who was praised. I've changed the content of the last level just now. I use almost all my strength in this tone. I'm afraid that after I finish these words, I will disappear completely. At that time, you can only rely on your own efforts to inherit my inheritance. I don't know what to call the elder yet. Cloud Dance looked at the old man's almost transparent face and asked, "Besides, since you have been able to leave a breath until now, is there no way to revive you?" The old man shook his head slowly and said, "No." Yunwu's eyes were slightly heavy and he didn't speak. "I've lived for hundreds of years. I should have left long ago. It's enough to work hard now. If you want to call me, please call me Mr. Chen. That's what they called me at the beginning. Old Chen." Cloud Dance called out. Chen's eyes were slightly far away, as if he thought of things a long time ago, and said, "You don't understand my strength now. When you get to a certain level in the future, just ask Xiaojiu. 3 passes through. When I disappear, you will be sent out by yourself, and here will be turned into a jade card again and fall into your hand. At that time, you only need to use a drop of blood, and the jade card will automatically open the inheritance. You must bear in mind that the inheritance must be completed in the tomb. Otherwise, if you leave the tomb, you will not be able to take out the jade card. It will be difficult to come in again at that time." Yunwu nodded, indicating that she had listened to Mr. Chen's words. "Although I'm a dual summoner, my inheritance is not the element of thunder and space. In order to facilitate the inheritor's smooth inheritance, I can transform the strength of my life into the strength of the jade brand space. When inheriting, I can directly help you improve your realm. What I want to say is that the power is too huge, and your current strength is too low. If you feel uncomfortable in the process, even if you give up the rest of the power, don't try your best to devour it. Otherwise, once the power exceeds your physical bearing range, it will explode and die. The tomb is my lifelong collection. When you complete the inheritance, these things will be yours. At that time, take a good look. If you don't understand, ask Xiaojiu." Chen Lao's expression is very serious. When he comes here, his figure is almost invisible, but he is still trying to explain what he wants to say clearly. Cloud Dance nodded seriously. "That's all I have to say. The rest depends on you." Mr. Chen has a long voice. Cloud Dance's eyes flashed slightly, looking at the figure who could only vaguely see the outline, suddenly asked in a voice, "Dare to ask Mr. Chen, what can I do to revive you?" "Haha, you really have a heart, but it's a pity that those who are left with a wisp of ghosts can be mended. But I don't know how many years my soul has been destroyed. Now it's just a breath. It will dissipate in a moment, and there's no way to recover." After that, it seemed that he saw the loneliness in Yunwu's eyes. Chen chuckled and continued, "You don't have to worry about it. I've lived for many years, and I've already lived enough. My biggest wish is to have an inheritance. Now this wish has been completed. If you take over my inheritance and have Xiaojiu to help you in the future, you will make a lot of progress." Chen Lao's voice is more distant, as if from a distant place, and his body also slowly dissipates with the sound. Yunwu felt a move in his heart. He suddenly bowed heavily to the place where the figure had disappeared. He said in a loud voice, "I must remember my master's instruction." In the white light, Yunwu seems to see the outline of Chen's body again. She raises her hand, smiles and strokes her beard. She looks at her with satisfaction, as if she is quite satisfied with her master. Chen's figure completely disappeared. The surrounding space suddenly twisted. Yunwu stood there quietly, waiting for what happened next. The next moment, Yunwu only felt the surrounding space shaking, and then he was excluded from the Jade brand space and appeared on the square again. "Look, it's Cloud Dance. She's out." There was an exclamation in the square. Almost instantaneously, all those who were waiting to sit or lie in the square stood up. In full view of the public, Yunwu stood quietly on the altar, wrapped in a soft white light. All the people were just watching, but no one dared to go forward. Just because of the soft white light, they all kept it in mind. It seems that this Cloud Dance can't get the jade medal. Someone looked at the jade plate still in the distance on the altar and said, "I don't think it's that easy to get. I think she probably failed the test." The other man followed closely. Their words fell into the ears of the people around them, and a group of people nodded. They would rather be this ending than Yunwoo has got that thing. However, the past is contrary to our wishes. Finally, the light slowly dissipated. When the people were confused, they suddenly saw the jade plate which had nothing to do just now. Suddenly it was full of light. The dazzling light was like the rising sun, which made people unable to look directly at it. Everyone raised their hands to block the dazzling light. The next moment, when they couldn't look directly at each other, the light suddenly closed and quickly got into the hands of Cloud Dancing. Peace returned to the square, and everything seemed to have never happened. What happened? Huolinger opened his big eyes and looked at the cloud dance on the altar in front of him. He didn't come forward honestly. Just now the jade plate flickered too fast. No one noticed where the jade plate had gone. Although everyone knows that Yunwoo is the one who is most likely to get the jade medal, and the thing is probably already on her, her appearance is too calm. Master, she passed the test. Small 9 murmur of say, eyes is full of the color of shock. Although she is the summoner of Yunwoo, she thinks that Yunwoo can't pass the test from the bottom of her heart, but she didn't expect to pass it at last. Does this mean that the owner of the tomb has admitted Yunwoo's identity? All of a sudden, Xiaojie was very excited. He is not only excited that his former master has found a real successor, but also proud that the new master can pass the test of the old master. In this way, I can follow the master all the time. Unconsciously, the name of Xiaojie has changed. When she saw the appearance of Yunwoo, she knew that she had regarded Yunwoo as her master. Huoting and others on one side were even more shocked. In this case, the jade card must have fallen into Yunwoo's hands, although it was a pity. But when you think about the fact that you have known so many great people, you just have to put down the loss in your heart. And a few people are different is the Longqing evil facial expression but sink down. There is no reason for him, because he has seen many people around him, staring at the cloud dance on the altar with shining eyes. Want to grab something from his little guy? Ask him whether he agrees or not. Cloud Dance opened her eyes, cold vision swept around the scene. I don't know if it's because she looks too mysterious. The cold vision just scared away those hot vision. Yunwoo looked at the layout of the square, and found that the position where she stood was in the middle of the square, surrounded by everyone. In this way, if people rush up, it will not be so defensive. At the moment, Yunwoo slowly walked down from the altar to the team of Washishi Town. What's going on? Did Yunwoo get the jade medal? There was a voice of doubt. This question rings in the hearts of everyone waiting in the square, but no one knows the answer. And they all hope that someone can come out and ask Yunwoo. It's better to snatch the jade medal. And they don't want to be the one, even the Lord of Mu. Knowing that Cloud Dance is a summoner, and seeing the power of Nine-Tailed Fox, what courage does he have to be like before? What's more, he was not a very stupid person. Finally, Yunwoo came to the body of Dragon Qingxia. Miss Cloud Dance, you. Huoting just wanted to ask, but suddenly thought of the current situation is too embarrassed, just afraid of Cloud Dance to say the answer is to get or not. It is very difficult to do, so just to swallow the most words. Cloud Dance and Dragon Qing Evil look at each other, gently nodded. Dragon Qing Evil smile said, "Oh, it's really troublesome." This sentence is so mindless that people can't understand it. Even some people in the square thought that Yunwoo didn't get the jade medal, so there was such a saying. Then Cloud Dance turned to the Fire Tongue and said, "Lord of Fire, I may need your help next." Huoting was thinking about the meaning of Long Qingxia's words. When he heard this sentence, he couldn't react to it. As a result, Yunwoo didn't explain it, so he went directly to the place behind the crowd against the wall. They all gave way one after another, and then they saw Yunwoo facing the crowd, with his back close to the wall and sitting cross-legged directly. With the palm of his hand turned, a jade medal appeared in the palm of his hand. It's a jade card. It's really in her hands. Startled voice rang out, and then the crowd saw Cloud Dance fingers turning. A drop of blood dropped on the jade again. This time, the jade brand flew directly to the top of Yunwoo's head. And the visible power of the naked eye quickly poured into the top of Yunwoo's head. Cloud Dance has long closed its eyes and practiced in front of everyone. She wants to absorb the power of the jade metal. Stop her among the crowd. the Lord of Mu City yelled with red eyes. This sound, like a bomb, fell directly into the crowd and made a lot of noise. People no longer have scruples. Crazy to the direction of Firestone Town rushed up. And Huiting finally understood what cloud dance meant. Immediately and decisively in front of the crowd behind him ordered, "Protect Miss Yunwu." Yes, loud and orderly voice sounded, and the crowd quickly surrounded the cloud dance in the middle. Those crazy people came to us in an instant. Huolinger was placed in the position closest to Yunwu to protect her. As a young lady in Wuxia Town, she had many good pills on her. She could not only take care of Yunwu, but also protect herself by the way. Long Qingxia, Xiaojiu and Huiting disperse and lead members of Wuxia Town to resist one attack. Small 9 is unambiguous. Directly open the animal body. The huge 9 tail will block that side of the solid. No matter how many people cannot rush in, let alone close to the cloud dance, even close to small 9 are difficult. The thunder element keeps flashing, a little bit ferocious is directly split into a mass of black. But after all, Xiaojie was only the strength of Emperor Wu. After he became a summoner, even if he opened all the beasts, he was not as powerful as before. Fortunately, although there were a large number of attackers, there were not many experts. As for Long Qingxia, it's very safe. Wuling's strength is a piece of cake to deal with these people. However, Long Qingxia didn't kill all of them. On the contrary, he had a sharp eye. All the people in Yulin Town were killed directly, while others were half dead. Some of them didn't bother to go to great trouble, and let them go. Slowly, people finally found that the weakest part of the encirclement is Huiting. Listen to me, you city masters. Some of us specialize in one side. The other two are too powerful. We directly send our men to harass them. When we get the jade medal, we can divide the power equally. Mu City Lord Eyes Time Ruthless said. Looking at in front of him called over all the city lord, eyes quite fierce. Lord Mu is right. Someone answered. Originally, the relationship between people and Wuxia Town was not bad. Even much better than Yulin Town. But now, who can take care of the relationship with whom? Interest is the most important thing. Since Yulin Town is willing to join hands, it's better to join hands for the time being. The benefits can't only be taken by Flint Town. After discussion, several Wuzong rushed directly to the fire. Huiting's face sank instantly when he saw those people coming. Several city masters. Do you really want to have a hard time with us in Flint Town? The voice of authority rings out. Fire Tung quite impolite say. Lord of Fire, it's you who are unrighteous first. You want to embezzle the treasure and give it to outsiders. No wonder we've joined hands. Machengza squints at Huiting and says coldly. In a few words, black and white will be directly reversed. Embezzlement. Injustice first? Huiting sneered. When did I steal the treasure in Flint Town? What Miss Yunwu got by virtue of her own ability. We just protect the law for her. But you say it was taken by us in Flint Town. Even if it's embezzlement, don't forget that you agreed at the beginning that you should get it by your ability. Yes. Now if you don't get it, you're going to bully people together? Cut the crap. What about bullying you? Mu City Trunk Crisp directly tore the skin angrily said. Fire. I advise you to get out of the way, otherwise, do you want to be against all of us because of that person? Where do you put Flint? Huiting sneered and did not speak. I have known for a long time that talking to the Lord of Mu City is like playing the lute to a cow. The black can be said to be white. Why does he talk nonsense? In that case, we'd better do it directly. 3 huge white tails stretched out, and then in front of the crowd turned into 3 little foxes with white hair, each with bright eyes. The voice of enchantment spreads immediately. More people bully less people. Lord of Fire, I'll help you. Huiting laughed and said to Xiaojiu, who only had 5 tails, without looking back. In that case, I would like to thank Miss Jiu. Small 9 corners of the mouth a hook, continue to take care of their own war situation. And Fire Tung here also thoroughly fight up. The whole square of the tomb fell into chaos. With the addition of Fox, Huiting had no difficulty in dealing with the crowd. Small 9 tail split out of the small fox also has the strength of Wuzong. The use of thunder elements is also a model. The speed is very fast. Even compared with the master of Wuzong, he was quick but not slow. For a moment, he directly made the master of Mu City and his party fall into an embarrassing situation. The outside world is in chaos, but Yunwu makes himself sink down to accept the energy in the Jade card. It is said that it is the energy in the Jade brand, but what we really accept is the power of inheritance guided by the Jade brand. Gentle thunder elements and space elements don't know what method to use to become a lot more gentle. The force of elements slowly flows into their own body and flows to the four limbs. Cloud Dance can feel the strength of their own constantly enhanced. All that happened outside had nothing to do with her. She knew that the strength of those people was too low, and that Dragon Qingxia was more than enough to deal with. She had to improve her strength as soon as possible to go out to help them. On the other side, Shangguan and Nangongyi walk aimlessly. Where are we going? Shangguan sighed and looked at the long road ahead. At the beginning we were scattered because of the teleportation array, so we should be able to join together towards the boundary of Mudu. Nangongyi leads the horse and stands beside Shangguan. He is dressed in white like a fairy. Shangguan finally vomited his breath and shook his head helplessly. But who knows where we are now, and where is the boundary of Mudu? Nangongyi pursed his mouth and didn't speak. It seemed that he didn't know. Anyway, find a place to rest first. Shangguan shrugged his shoulders, mounted his horse and headed for the road. Anyway, we have to find a place to eat first, and then have a good sleep. In this way, Nangongyi suddenly felt his stomach empty, and his sense of fatigue suddenly made him sleepy. Then he nodded and frowned slightly. It seems that we are still far away from the place where there are people in front of us. The two of them looked at the sky and saw that the sky was already yellow. It was obvious that they were about to enter the night. Shangguan sighed, drove the horse forward a little distance, then got off the horse and sat down under a tree. Then we may spend the night here. The two men took all the things from their horses and put them on the ground. They found branches around them to set up a fire. Shangguan walked towards the woods again. Soon he came back with 2 rabbits in his hands. After a while, they managed to put the hair on the fire. Finally, they were relieved and leaned against the tree. I don't know what these people are doing. Shangguan mumbles to himself, turns his head and looks at Nangongyi. He sees Nangongyi sitting by the fire roasting a hare, dazed. Seeing this, Shangguan felt his nose and baked the rabbit at ease. After a while it was completely dark, and the whole forest was dark, except for the fire nearby. From time to time, the cry of Warcraft came from not far away, which made them both be on guard. The forest at night is the most terrible and dangerous. The two men tore the meat from the hare. It was cool in the woods at night, which made people feel that it penetrated the bone marrow. I just hope we can make it through tonight, Shangguan said and sat down with his knees crossed. He was relieved to breathe. Nangongyi turned his head and frowned at the woods behind him. Why do you always feel that it's a little strange around here? Nangongyi said, has stood up, toward behind a dark place. Shangguan also opened his eyes, looked at the direction of Nangongyi, stood up and walked towards the dark direction. Nangongyi, what do you see? Shangguan frowned and asked curiously. Nangongyi turns his head and makes a silent gesture to Shangguan. Then he sacrifices his sword and goes on. 2 people side by side, quietly walking forward. No one said a word. Finally, they got closer and closer to the direction of the voice. Shangguan heard a loud noise in front of them, which made them look at each other and frown. They quietly approached the voice and squatted in the bush to observe. I saw a bright light ahead, and there was a camp in the woods. Countless men came and went, holding large bowls of wine, chatting and laughing, very happy. Who are these people? Shangguan asked quietly. Nangongyi frowned and said nothing. Well, I said, we've made a lot of money this time. When we go back, we should celebrate with the people in the tribe. A big man with bare arms went to the campfire, touched a bowl with another man and drank it. I'm afraid that this caravan will find some experts to come and trouble us. The skinny little groom sat beside him and looked at a large group of people anxiously. In any case, this caravan is also the largest caravan in Liangjian City. They can't have predicted that. All of a sudden, a big man standing next to the coachman cursed. He kicked the coachman with a big foot and threw the weak coachman to the ground. He didn't stand up for a long time. Damn, you can't hope for a better day. Sooner or later, your mouth will kill you, the man spat and turned away. If we find what they call Liangjian City, maybe we can find the teleportation array, and we can go back to the boundary of Mudu. Shengguan said that he turned to seek the consent of Nangong-yi. Nangong-yi pursed his mouth and nodded gently. We just let them think that we are experts from Liangjianqing. The corners of his mouth lightly cocked up and said, Tomorrow, people from Liangjianqing will come to look for this batch of goods. Shengguan looked at Nangong-yi doubtfully. For a long time he didn't understand. He had to shake his head and sigh. Okay, what you say is what I believe. Who is that over there? All of a sudden, a man over there roared. In an instant, countless men stood up and looked at Shengguan and Nanmi together. It's boring. Shengguan sighed helplessly. I still want to have a rest. I didn't expect that you found us. Then they stood out from behind the tree and walked towards a group of people. In an instant, the group of people took up arms and came to Nangong-yi. Who are you? We. The Shengguan took the long sword in his hand and walked over to several people. He laughed softly. You robbed my caravan. You asked me who I am? The man holding the bowl suddenly raised his eyebrows and looked at the groom beside him. Then he turned to look at Nangong-yi and the two of them. He suddenly raised his foot and kicked the groom out for a long time. He yelled, Look at your broken mouth. How nice to be dead. The coachman's mouth, which was kicked by him, gushed blood and was in agony. He lay on the ground and couldn't stand up. Shengguan looked at it and was furious. He raised his sword to the man and said, You guys are so infuriating. I'm afraid we won't stand on the sidelines even if we're not entrusted by Liangjianqing today. Those a few people listened to, immediately angry eyes circle open, take up a weapon to walk toward two people. Newspaper, your big name come. Daming? It's dirty, my name coming out of your mouth. Shengguan burst out laughing, wrapped in fighting spirit, and ran towards a large group of people in front of him. Nangong-yi's eyes narrowed slightly and followed him with his sword. Two people in a large group of people shuttle back and forth. After a while, a large number of people have been lying on the ground, cannot stand up. Shengguan was very arrogant and laughed. I thought it was a group of powerful people. It turned out to be a large group of straw bags. There are several powerful people. Instant seems to be burned red eyes, body wrapped in fighting gas towards the two people rushed. However, the minions were indeed minions. In less than a breath of incense, everyone had fallen to the ground one after another, and began to howl. Shengguan shakes his sword and sits under the tree. He looks at the people rolling on the ground and sighs. I say you'd better not challenge our temper anymore and follow us. Otherwise, I'm afraid you can't go back to your tribe. Finally, the bandit leader reluctantly stood up, clenched his teeth, lowered his head and thought for a moment, finally raised his head and looked at them. In my memory, there are no experts like you in Liangjian City. I don't know what benefits Liangjian City has given them, but they have brought them out. Shengguan didn't speak. He scratched his head and sighed. Seeing that Shengguan didn't speak, the leader turned his head and looked at Nangong-yi. But Nangong-yi raised his mouth slightly and shook his head. No. No good? Are you teasing me? The leader gritted his teeth and said angrily. I think you are toasting instead of drinking. I tell you, this place is very close to our tribe. I advise you not to take care of this matter anymore. Otherwise, our people will arrive soon. If you go on like this, you will be the one who will lose. Shengguan and Nangong-yi seem to be in no hurry. They sit under the tree and say nothing. The leader was very impatient. He looked around with his subordinates and couldn't help shouting. Just say it. What do you two want? What do you want? We want you to come back to Liangjian City with me. Shengguan sighed helplessly. No matter what, we have to give Liangjian City Master an explanation, don't you think? The leader bowed his head and thought, very nervous. These two people were still? How can there be people who want to help others? Thinking about this, he raised his head and looked up at Shengguan, very serious. In this way, what we have robbed today, how about we split half? If you look around, people around you don't have much objection. After all, Two people who have completely crushed a group of people can't dare to make mistakes in front of them. Shangguan looked at Nangong and asked quietly, "Otherwise, we'll ask if they have a teleportation array?" Although the voice is small, the leader still hears it. He suddenly raises his head and says eagerly, "Transmission array? We have a teleport array here." In the heart a burst of surprise, Shangguan just wanted to stand up and ask, but was pressed by Nangong lightway. "They are robbers, why do we cooperate with them?" Shangguan patted the brain door and said, "Really, as soon as I heard that they had a teleportation array, I completely forgot the others." Sighed. "No, we are the people who stick to morality and justice. We can't promise you." But Liang Jiancheng, only one person has a teleportation array, and it still costs a lot of money. A lot of money. On hearing the heavy money, the Shangguan turned his head and looked at Nangong. Nangong bowed his head and laughed. "It doesn't matter. We don't want your money." The leader said, "As long as you let us go. Where do you want to go? We'll get it to you safely. I don't know what adults think." Shangguan turned his eyes and suddenly said with a smile, "Well, we can let you go, but you have to give me all the things you hijacked, or wait for the people from Liangjianqing to come, otherwise, I'm afraid we can't let you go." The leader turned his head and looked around. There were people who were easily knocked down by two people and couldn't get up, but they didn't have any scars. Thinking like this, I can't help swallowing my saliva, lowering my head, sweating, I don't know what to say. But Shangguan also murmured in his heart. He pulled Nangong up, walked behind the tree and whispered, "Do you think people from Liangjian City will come here to look for their lost goods?" Nangong raised a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, but he was confident. "That's natural. After all, these goods are not simple goods. As long as we stand in the same place and wait for the people in Liangjianqing, they will definitely find them." Nangong turns his head and suddenly tiptoes to the back. Shangguan lung, but see Nangong suddenly from in front of not far from the bush, pulled out a person. "Want to run?" A group of people dejected sitting in the woods, one by one of the head, who dare not speak. Shangguan and Nangong sat cross-legged on both sides, and no one spoke. What to do? The leader secretly aimed at the two people in front of him, turned his head and asked the man beside him, "How can we escape? What can we do? What can we do?" The leader reluctantly scratched his head, sighed and leaned against the book. He raised his head and closed his eyes. "I'm afraid we're going to end this time." With that, the leader was still looking around, looking for a way out. But two people just sit there. The gas field is so strong that they dare not move. A large group of people just sat there until the sky turned white. As soon as Shangguan opened his eyes, he saw Nangongji standing up and walking towards the front of the forest. Before long, there was a noise in the woods ahead, and then countless people and horses came to this side. "Look for clues. Come on, someone over there said." "I said, Chief, it's been a night. Those people won't be stupid enough to leave clues here. I don't think we need to waste our efforts. Do you understand the seriousness of this incident?" Some people said, "We can't afford this batch of goods." Countless people came this way. Nangong, dressed in white, came out from behind the tree and stood in front of a group of people. A group of people were stunned. Almost at the same time, they took out their weapons and quickly surrounded Nangong Tuan. "Who are you?" Some people roar, looking at Nangong, a moment of murderous. "In Xiananganji, I don't know your name." Nangong looks at the people with weapons around him, but he doesn't have the slightest precaution. He just turns around and walks behind him. "Don't move." A man shouts to Nangong, holding his sword and shaking all over. Nangong aura was so powerful that his whole body was shaking and his legs were shaking. But Nangong didn't care. He walked forward slowly, and the people in front of him kept retreating because of Nangong's progress, and his face became more and more pale. "Don't worry, I won't do it with you," Nangong said, looking at it calmly and then walking forward. "It's just that I met someone who started with you last night." Everyone was stunned. Everyone looked at the people around him with suspicion. For a long time, the man who took the lead laughed. "I don't know where you came from, But how can you make me believe you? Before the words fall, Nangongyi suddenly raises his hand and points to the back of the woods. Everyone looked forward curiously, only to see a barracks in front of us, and the unburned campfire and the burnt-out smoke. A large crowd sat by the campfire, huddling. Shangguan stood on one side and turned his head to see Nangongyi, who was leading a group of people to the front. Oh, here you are. Nangongyi, you are so powerful. As you expected, they are here. Almost everyone in front of him was stunned. People in Liangjianqing looked at a group of robbers sitting on the ground in front of him. Suddenly, a burst of anger in everyone's heart rushed to these people. You bandits! All of a sudden, everyone was in a mess. Nangongyi and Shangguan quietly withdraw from the chaos and leap to the tree. Sitting in the tree, Shangguan yawned bored, listening to the cry and fight under the tree. Nangongyi sat on the tree with cold eyes and didn't react. After a while, the voice under the tree finally quieted down. Shangguan looked down and saw that the people in Liangjian City had arrested the robbers and tied them together. One by one, they grabbed the carriage and left with the goods. The man, who was called the leader, stood under the tree and yelled at the two people on the tree. I hope you will forgive me for your doubts just now. Please come down and talk to me. Shangguan and Nangongyi look at each other. All jump down from the tree and stand with the man. It's just your family business, so we didn't interfere. Please forgive me. Nangongyi bows to the man. Sorry, Gongren is the leader of a mercenary team in Liangjianqing. Gongren bowed himself in a hurry and looked very respectful. I really don't know how to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid we would all be dead this time. Gongren trembles excitedly, grabbing Shangguan and Nangongyi's arms and thanking them incessantly. This makes Nangongyi frown and draw his arm out of Gongren's hand without leaving a trace, and then step back 2 steps. I don't know if you can come to the city with me? Gongrendao's eyes are full of sincerity. With a smile on his mouth, Shangguan turned to Nangongyi, then with a smile, pretended to be reluctant and nodded. Okay, let's go back to explain the situation with you. Gongren can't wait to bow and make a gesture of please, taking 2 people to walk towards his own direction. Not long after, the 3 had seen the motorcade waiting outside the woods. Seeing the 3 people coming out, the team all stood up and bowed to them. Gongren ushered them into a carriage. After a while, he heard someone outside shouting that they were ready to leave, so all the cars went in the same direction. Anyway, I want to thank you for saving us. Gongren sighed, wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, and looked out of the window at the fading scenery. That's natural. If these weapons are intercepted by robbers, you will have to die. Nangongyi lowers his head and looks at Gongren with a smile. Gongren's whole body trembled, his face turned pale, and he even stammered. That originally you've seen the things in it? With a little smile, Nangongyi shows a mysterious smile. He doesn't speak. He just turns to look out of the window. All the way speechless, Gongren looks at the mysterious appearance of Nangongyi and Shangguan, and his face is gloomy. His master has mixed a lot of poison in the weapons of the city master. If these 2 people tell the city master about this, I'm afraid they will still be beheaded. Thinking about this, he took a deep breath and asked tentatively, I don't know if adults can see exactly what's inside? Nangongyi slightly raised the corner of his mouth, nodded gently, turned his head and stared at Gongren with a pair of beautiful eyes. So you want to kill people? The cold sweat on Gongren's forehead immediately slipped before his voice fell. Gongren could not help shaking and swallowing. Seeing Gongren's timid appearance, the Shangguan finally couldn't help laughing, reached out and patted him on the shoulder and said, Don't worry, we just want to find a transmission array to send us back to the border of Mudu. There's no other requirement, so you can rest assured that we won't break your financial path. Gongren was very surprised and turned to Nangongyi. He saw Nangongyi sitting in the carriage and looking out of the window, but he didn't respond. He said in a hurry, If you say that, my lord, I can tell you that he has a teleportation array, but it usually costs a lot of money. Now I believe that he should be willing to use it for you. Shangguan looked at Gongren pleasantly and couldn't help asking, Really? Finally, the party came to the gate of Liangjian City. A few of them dismounted and asked their men to take the goods and robbers to the master's house. Gong Ren took his things out of the goods and put them in his luggage. So he led them, Gong Ren and others, to a mansion. The mansion was incredibly big. It seemed that it was not worse than the lord of the city. Shangguan couldn't help smacking. I think you mercenary leaders have a better life than the lord of the city. Gong Ren smiles, bows and leads them to the master's room. Before long, Gong Ren stopped in front of a house, turned his head and looked at Shangguan and Nanganji behind him, indicating that they were here. Respectfully knocked on the door. Gong Ren outside said, "Master, today our goods are found by these two people. Come in." There was a man's voice in the room, so the door was opened and Shangguan went in. There was a very charming woman standing at the door of the room, twisting her waist at several people and giving a wink by the way. 3 people go in together. Shangguan and Nangong are arranged on the edge of a table. Gong Renlu has run to his master, quietly muttering something. Before long, I only heard the master haha loudly. Then I picked up the wine bowl and said with a smile, "No matter what, thanks to the 2 adults intercepting the goods that we were robbed, otherwise we might be finished. I'm going to take the next pay cow." Said picked up the wine bowl, must respect 2 people a bowl. Shangguan and Nangong have no choice but to report their names. They also take a bowl, take a sip and put it on the table. Pei Cao saw that they didn't seem to drink much, so he put down the wine cup and said faintly, "It's just that they are in urgent need of a teleportation array." On hearing this, Shangguan stood up anxiously and walked to Pei Cao. He was surprised. "So, do you really have a teleportation array that can send us to the boundary of Mudu? The boundary of Wood Capital?" Pei Cao and Gong Ren looked at each other and saw each other's face pale. I can venture to ask, why do you want to go to the boundary of Mudu?" Shangguan said with a smile. "Because we were attacked there and the whole teleportation array was destroyed, we were separated from our friends. Now we plan to go back to the boundary of Mudu from teleportation array." Pei Cao nodded, took a sip from his glass, looked down and thought for a long time. This time he said, "In fact, if I lend you the teleportation array, it's okay to go back to the border of Mudu. However, the border of Mudu has become a desolate city now. If you go there, it's like death." Hearing this, Shangguan had no choice but to laugh. "Don't worry, we won't have any problems. After all, there are still many friends. All they can think of is to meet in the boundary of Mudu." Gong Ren looked at Pei Cao timidly, then turned his head to see Shangguan, Nangong and others. His brows wrinkled slightly. Pei Cao felt his chin, narrowed his eyes and thought carefully for a long time. Then he said slowly, "You know this transmission array is not so easy." "Master!" Gong Ren shouts Pei Cao in a hurry. He is almost aware of what Pei Cao wants to say. Nangong, with a faint smile, picked up his glass and sipped his wine. "Is Mr. Pei going to discuss with us the price of using the teleportation array?" With these words, Pei Cao's eyes in front of him immediately filled with light. He hurried forward and said, "What's your price?" Shangguan seemed to scratch his head in embarrassment. He couldn't help sighing. "What can we do? We don't have any money. Please forgive me. Can we use it?" When he heard that he had no money, Pei Cao's face immediately cooled down. "No money? I don't know what you think if you don't have money. Is this teleportation array available to anyone?" Gong Ren, who was already in a cold sweat, looked at Pei Cao in a panic, and kept winking. But Pei Cao couldn't see it at all. His clothes were arrogant and domineering. "Why do you have no money and just want to use it for nothing?" Shangguan seems very helpless. He turns to Gong Ren, with a smile of unknown meaning. Gong Ren's face turned pale and he swallowed. He looked down at Pei Cao, who was beside him. "That master." Gong Ren scratched his head and frowned. He didn't know how to organize the language. Shangguan lips light pursed, a look at a good play, looking at the 2 people in front of him. "What? You don't look like people without money, do you? Why can't you even pay for it?" Pei Cao sneered and touched his chin. "I think you want to save our caravan for free." "So?" Shangguan rubbed his eyebrows and said, "As early as I said, when those people said they wanted to share the things with us, we should promise. In this case, we should have money." Pei Cao suddenly opened his eyes wide. His eyes seemed to be able to spray out anger. What do you say? Shangguan sighed, scratched his head and sighed. Forget it, Nanganji, let's go. I think there should be a teleportation array there. Then they both stood up and walked out of the house. That. 2 adults. Wait, Gongren suddenly yelled. His voice trembled and he swallowed. But Shangguan and Nanganji have already walked out of the house and slammed the door. Gongren took a deep breath and was about to cry. He turned to Pei Cao and cried anxiously. Don't let them go. They know our secret. Before finishing a sentence, Pei Cao was shocked. He opened his eyes to Gongren. He was angry and kicked Gongren's stomach. Gongren suddenly burst into blood and fell to the ground. But master, the 2 of them are so powerful that we are not rivals at all. If we let them go like this, we will certainly have no good fruit to eat. Gongren coughs twice, spits out a mouthful of blood and grasps Pei Cao's leg. Pei Cao kicked him away and rushed out of the room. You wait! Pei Cao yelled at the 2 men who had just left. Let's discuss it again. I'll let you go. Shangguan turned to Nangang-yi. Nangang-yi raised his mouth slightly. It's really troublesome. So Pei Cao, with a sad face, took 2 people to the teleport array. Our teleportation array is seldom used, so. Pei Cao scratched his head and laughed. If the transmission is not successful. Before he finished speaking, Nangang-yi's hand was already wrapped with purple fighting spirit. Pei Cao's face turned white because of his strong momentum. He swallowed the rest of his words and murmured. Don't worry, you will succeed. So Shangguan and Nanganji both stand on the transmission array. Nanganji murmurs a few words in a low voice. In an instant, there is a white light, and their figures have disappeared. In a flash, their figures appeared in a valley. That is to say, we have reached the boundary of Mudu. Shangguan sighed. After so long, finally back. Nangang-yi also smiles and looks relaxed. They walk straight along the valley. And the desert has become a desert city of quicksand tribe. At this time everywhere is full of blood. Mengbai helped Qiyi out of the tribe. At this time, the news that the cannibal tribe was slaughtered has spread all over the desert. 2 people everywhere to find an inn to stay. Mengbai helped Qiyi's recuperate, soon has been better than half. The 2 packed and prepared to leave. Where should we go to find other people? Mengbai asked. Looking around, there was a hot wind blowing in the barren desert. There were no more people except those around. We should go back to the border of Mudu. Qiyi bowed his head for a long time and murmured. We are separated from the boundary of Mudu. I think other people will try their best to return to the boundary of Mudu. Mengbai frowned and sighed. How can we find the transmission array? There is no teleportation array in the boundary of Mudu. Where should we teleport? Teleport, you ask me? Around suddenly came a voice. Let Mengbai and Qi Knight have turned to see. Jiazhong. Mengbai opened his mouth and seemed surprised. Where did you go? I thought you were eaten by cannibals when we slaughtered the city. Jiazhong laughed, sat down and took a sip of tea and said, How can I die so easily? It's not too cheap for you. I haven't asked you for intelligence money yet. He turned to look at Qiyi and said hello with a smile. Mengbai rushed over and was very surprised. You mean, do you know where there is a transmission array? That's natural. My family has it. Jiazhong looked at Mengbai with a proud face. That would be wonderful. Qiyi drank the water in the cup light way. Then take us to your house, little sister. The water in Jiazhong's mouth spewed out for a long time. He coughed violently and stopped for a long time. He looked at Qiyi in surprise. I said you too. Why do you think I'm a sister? I'm really a man. Qiyi didn't speak. He stood up and walked outside the inn. Mengbai looks at Qiyi going out, then turns his head and looks at Jiazhong suspiciously. Then he goes out with Qiyi. I said you, Jiazhong yelled. Just as he wanted to say something, he lowered his head and looked at his chest. He was also a little suspicious and blushed. He wrapped up his clothes and ran after them. After a while, several people were already standing at the door of Jiazhong's house. This is your home? Mengbai couldn't help opening his mouth. Yes, I am the child of this tribal elder, so you can rest assured that I will not pit you. With a smile, Jiazhong welcomed them in. Jiazhong, where are you going? Suddenly, a voice came from the mansion, which attracted Meng Bai and Qi Yi's eyes. They turned their heads and took a meaningful look at Jiazhong. Suddenly, they heard an extremely dignified voice behind them. Jiazhong, come here for me. Jiazhong vomits his tongue at Qi Yi's and Meng Bai, and walks to the old man behind him in a low voice. At the end of the front is my room. You can wait there first. I'll tell my father about the situation, and he will agree you to use my transmission array. I'll trouble you, little sister. Qi Yi said with no expression on his face, but with a slight pick on the tip of his brow, and a look on his face like, do you see the truth? Made Jiazhong blush and run away. If it goes well, we may be able to leave tonight. Meng Bai sighed and sat on the bench of the corridor with Qi Yi's, looking at the scenery of the garden. Although it is in the desert, the garden is very elegant, and the small bridge and flowing water are luxurious. Just as they were admiring the furnishings of the whole mansion, there was a sudden sound of footwork behind them. They turned around and saw a dignified old man with a pretty girl coming out of the room behind them. I don't know if the two distinguished guests are coming here. I'm sorry to meet you. I'm Jiaxing Chao. The old man's gray hair, squinting and laughing, kind and dignified. Meng Bai and Qi Yi's also return a ceremony, each reported his name. Then Jiaxing Chao took them to the main hall. At this time, Jiazhong changed into a pink dress. His hair, which was originally high on the back of his head, is now all soft on the back of his head. It's amazing. Meng Bai and Qi were stunned for a long time. Then he exclaimed, it's such a beautiful little girl. Hearing Meng Bai's praise, Jiazhong lowered his head shyly and laughed. Who thought you were so smart? I can see that I'm a girl at a glance. My daughter is mischievous. It's really hard for you to take care of her all the way. Did she go to the place near the cannibal tribe to play again? Jiaxing Chao touched Jiazhong's head lovingly, and sat on the throne with Jiazhong. I heard that there is a teleportation array in your house, so I asked Ling Qianjin to meet you. Meng Bai stands up with a smile and bows to Jiaxing Chao. You are very kind, young Xia. Jiaxing Chao quickly stood up and bowed to Meng Bai. He waved to the people around him. The heat around him took up trays and put them in front of them. He said, look, the two young Xia haven't eaten yet. Let's talk while eating. Meng Bai and Jiaxing Chao sat down and ate together. Listen to Jiazhong. You two have slaughtered the cannibal tribe? Jiaxing Chao put the food in his mouth and looked at them with a smile. Young Xia, I don't know how much help you have done us. Many tribes and caravans in the desert have been attacked by quicksand tribes, so we call them cannibals. The cannibal tribe's whereabouts are uncertain all day, but many people are killed by this tribe. They eat human flesh. It's really cruel. Jiaxing Chao sighed, very distressed. Qi Yi's lowered his head and put a piece of meat in his mouth. As soon as he wanted to put it in his mouth, he suddenly remembered the bloody woman who had been cut down in the water prison. For a moment, he retched and put the meat down quietly. But now, young Xia, you have wiped out the whole tribe. I must tell the good news to the whole tribe. Jiaxing Chao laughed, picked up the wine cup and stood up. Let me, on behalf of all the tribes suffering from tea poisoning, offer you a glass of wine. Meng Bai and Qi Yi stand up in a hurry to cope. Until he was full of wine and food. Jiaxing Chao's cheeks were red and he laughed. He was obviously very happy. Looking at the two people in front of him, Jiazhong seemed to be worried. He turned to shake Jiaxing Chao's sleeves and said, Dad, take them to the teleport array. I think they must have something very important. Jiaxing Chao narrowed his eyes, nodded, waved to the maid to remove the tableware, stood up and walked towards the door. You two, please follow me. Not long after, Jiaxing Chao and Jiazhong took Meng Bai to the transmission array and said, I don't know, where are you going? Meng Bai frowned, thought for a long time, and sighed. We are going to the boundary of Mudu, as long as we can send it to the nearby area. Finally, it's about to go. Qi Yi's looked at the transmission array in front of him and sighed. Can you still come back? Jiazhong stood behind Jiaxing Chao and suddenly said timidly, looking at Meng Bai with one eye, pitiful. If we are destined, we can see each other again. Meng Bai lowers his head and smiles. He stands on the transmission line with Qi Yi's and waves to Jiazhong. A white light, The moment will be 2 figures away. In ancient times, the summoner's tomb, on the most central square of the tomb, Cloud Dance closed her eyes and constantly absorbed the power passed by the jade plate. This power is extremely huge. Even after a long time, it seems that it has absorbed only a little. The transmitted power has not been reduced at all. Originally, Yunwu wanted to absorb them as soon as possible. At least he tried them. But it didn't take long for all the people who tried to win the jade medal from Yunwu to be defeated by Longqingxi. If they didn't bother to show their real strength, Longqingxi alone would be able to resist all the people here. Finally, as more and more people failed, they didn't realize how powerful the enemy they were facing until they all fell to the ground. It's boring. Small Nine Lazy said, that put out a few tails also all took back, finally all disappear. Those who fell to the ground all looked in horror at the 3 people who had gathered and stood in front of the Firestone team. Their eyes were full of horror. Come on, let's go, let's go. Some people said in horror, and then they got up from the ground one after another, took their companions with them, and retreated in a panic, as if they would stay forever after walking a little late. Damn it, the master of Mu City gritted his teeth, and looked at the extremely safe Cloud Dance surrounded in the middle. His eyes were full of reluctance. But even so, the Lord of Mu City has no way to step forward. Lord, let's go too. The entourage behind carefully said that if it were not for the Lord here, they would have left directly. Go Mu City, Lord, a bite teeth mercilessly say. Then he tried not to attract the attention of the 3 people, and quickly withdrew. The leader of Muqing, who has always been a man of the moment, actually has some talent in escape. I don't know if it's his luck or Longqingxia. They don't care about it at all, so they left safely. Not long after leaving the square, he directly collided with a man at the corner. The Lord of Mu City was seriously injured. He fell back directly under the collision. Before the people behind him could say anything, the people on the opposite side had already spoken. Well, isn't this the Lord of Mu City? Why don't you go inside and go back instead? The refined voice rang out, but the tone was so poor. Mu Xiaoming looked at him with a puzzled face and said, What do you want to say? Why don't you say it again? The master of Mu City complained repeatedly in his heart. He was bullied by Yunwu's friends just inside. He came out and ran into Yunwu's friends again. But these people's skills were more and more powerful. How could they be so unlucky? But then, the master of Mu City suddenly thought of something. Looking at Mu Xiaoming's handsome face, he had a plan. There's just been a big fight inside. Now it's too late to hide. Who dares to go inside? The Lord of Mu City said with a serious face, looking very sincere. Alas, I didn't expect that this time it was in vain. And finally I made wedding clothes for the people in Wuxia town. Flint Town. Mu Xiaoming was stunned for a moment. Making wedding clothes for Flint Town? Huolin, who was not far behind Mu Xiaoming, could not help but brighten his eyes. Then he stepped forward and asked, What do you mean by that? Do you mean I live in Flint Town? The Lord of Mu City glanced at him coldly and hummed. I didn't expect that the Lord of Wuxia town should be such a person. It's clear that the inheritance has been obtained by Yunwu, but he didn't know where he got the experts and surrounded the Yunwu group. If Huling didn't protect him desperately, I'm afraid Yunwu would have died in Wuxia town long ago. As soon as he said this, Huolin went up and grabbed the Lord Mu's collar. What are you talking about? The city master can't be like that. How can the city master do such a thing when he clearly wants to make friends with Miss Yunwu? As soon as Huolin finished his words, he was directly attacked by the follower behind the Lord Mu. He was so emotional that he didn't have time to resist and flew a long distance. Stay away from our Lord. The people behind the Lord Mu received the eye prompt and said coldly, You are not qualified to question the Lord. Mu City Lord looked at Mu Xiaoming and saw that he pursed his lips and did not speak. He did not know if he had listened to his words. Believe it or not, if it wasn't for Huoting, I wouldn't have suffered so much. If you don't believe it, just go and have a look. If you can save Yunwu. Having said that, the Lord of Mu City no longer stayed and left here with the people behind him. Huolin was very confused, but he couldn't believe that his lord would do something like that. But it didn't look like he was lying to see the attitude of the Lord. Let's go first. Lin Yuntong, who has not spoken for a long time, looks at their reaction and says. Before he had finished speaking, Mu Xiaoming had already started. He ran towards the inside as fast as he could, and the two people behind him also kept up with him. A moment later, a figure quickly appeared on the square. As they heard from the master of Mu City, Yunwu was surrounded by people. Hualinger carefully protected her, and there was no one else in the square except the people in Huasher town. In such a scene, isn't Yunwu betrayed by Flint town? Mu Xiaoming's face was extremely cold. He looked at the people sitting in front of them. Besides Huating, there was a man and a woman around Huating. Several people who are sitting together waiting for Yunwu to wake up think that no one dares to come again, but they find that another person comes soon after the crowd has dispersed. Long Qingxia turns to look at them, and then he sees a man in black looking at them angrily, with cold eyes. Why? This is not. Huating looks at Mu Xiaoming's face and suddenly feels very familiar. Then he remembers that this man is Yunwu's friend, but before he finishes speaking, Mu Xiaoming rushes up directly. A long sword condenses from Mu Xiaoming's hand, and then mercilessly attacks the dragon Qingxia 3 who are sitting in the front. The master of Flint Town? I'll see how tall you are, Mu Xiaoming said coldly. That the sword in his hand became red, and the rich fire elements lingered on it. The light of the sword flickered. Under a heavy blow, he directly hit a deep mark on the ground. Long Qingxia's hand is holding the fire tongue that can't dodge, and his eyes are looking at him coldly. If it wasn't for his and Xiaojiu's quick action just now, I was afraid that Huating would have died directly under the attack. Summoner? Small Nine surprised looking at the man in front of him. How did not think that he actually saw two summoners in a short period of time? And it seems that the strength of this summoner is not weak, is also a emperor? Isn't he a friend of Miss Cloud Dance? Huating looks at Mu Xiaoming in shock and feels that he can't think. What? Is he a friend of the master? Small Nine direct exclamation voice. How possible? At this time, Mu Xiaoming didn't have the heart to deal with them at all. A blow made them hide to one side, and then rushed to Yunwu. Stop him! Dragon Qing evil cold voice command Wei. Below block in front of Cloud Dance Flint Town members dare not neglect. Have rushed to Wood Xiaoming. What the hell is going on? Fire Tung anxiously said. Both sides are Miss Cloud Dance's friends. How to fight? Little guy's friend? Long Qingxia sneered. I think I want to use others to get the jade medal. Now I see that the little guy has got it, and I finally show my true face. As soon as the words came out, Xiaojiu and Huating suddenly clattered in their hearts. It seems that it's really possible. Whatever the reason, I'm the first one who wants to destroy the master's cultivation. After that, Small Nine directly rushed past, behind the huge nine-tail spread out. Force people's pressure mercilessly toward Wood Xiaoming rolling past. Mu Xiaoming wants to rush to Yunwu's side and clear away the people who are in front of him. But unexpectedly, there is a strong pressure behind him. It seems that the pressure comes from ancient times, which is very pressing. When Mu Xiaoming turned his head, he saw a man with 9 huge fox tails standing in the air, looking at himself coldly. The next moment, the figure of Flash, accompanied by a faint thunder, even directly flashing in front of their own. There was a faint smell of thunder elements in the air. Mu Xiaoming was surprised, but the sword in his hand attacked him. No one took advantage of the collision. Mu Xiaoming's body quickly retreated. Unexpectedly, a white tail didn't know when it came around behind him and rolled directly to him. Mu Xiaoming quickly jumped out of the range of attack, but with such a jump, he was even farther away from the clouds. Warcraft. Mu Xiaoming looks at Xiaojiu's coquettish face in surprise. His eyes are cold and enchanting. The pressure before is just emanating from her. Masuki Haramoto thought he was an expert, but after the fight, he found that the strength of the other side was not much different from that of himself, which was also the realm of Emperor Wu. If he could summon Warcraft, he would soon be able to defeat her, but now he was alone, so it was hard to start. Mu Xiaoming frowned and looked at the cloud dancing behind her. I tell you, if you are smart, don't give up the idea of big jade card. Even if you get the jade card, you can't accept the inheritance. Why? Small Nine see Mu Xiaoming's line of sight, can't help but eyes a sink, voice cold warning. When Mu Xiaoming saw that Hualinger was still standing there beside Yun Wu, and at the same time he was surprised to see himself, he thought that his appearance was too sudden and shocked her. Moreover, it seemed that the people in Huoshi town didn't move because of Hualinger, so he was a little relieved. It seems that these people in Flint Town are not bad to the core. Jade card. Well, do you really think I'm rare? Mu Xiaoming hummed coldly, no longer talking nonsense. With a long sword in his hand, he rushed to Xiaojiu again. The two figures are fighting in one place, and the situation is extremely fierce. At this time, there are two more figures in the square. They are Lin Yuntong and Huolin. Lord Fire Lin a shout, instantly Fire Tongue's line of sight attracted in the past. Mu Xiaoming. What's going on? Why are you fighting? Lin Yuntong looked at the two entangled figures, rushed forward without saying a word, directly pulled Mu Xiaoming's collar and pulled him down. The battle came to an end. Oh, another one? Long Qingxia looks at the woman who pulls Mu Xiaoming back, and says coldly, "You let me go. I have to kill them." Mu Xiaoming struggles on Lin Yuntong's hand again, desperately wants to go forward. Mu Xiaoming, calm down. Lin Yuntong hands a force, a would Xiaoming thrown aside. If you don't find out the truth, you'll beat people up, and you won't be afraid of being rude to you when Yunwu wakes up? Mu Xiaoming just turned over from the ground, and was ready to fight again. When he heard this, his action stopped immediately. But when he thought about the situation of Cloud Dance, his face became cold again. How can I know? Didn't you see them surround the little dance group? But they didn't draw their swords. Lin Yuntong said seriously. As soon as the words came out, it made Mu Xiaoming completely quiet. At this time, a white figure came directly in front of them. Mu Xiaoming raised his head and saw a pretty-looking man looking down at him. Two people seemed to have inexplicable resentment between the general, look at each other. What are you looking at? Would Xiaoming coldly asked, although Lin Yuntong's words have some truth, but before things are clear, he will remain vigilant. Long Qingxia raised his eyebrows, but his eyes were cold. Looking at Mu Xiaoming, he said, "Those who want to hurt her, especially those who betray her, will not come to a good end." Mu Xiaoming was stunned. He? Is that the Lord of Flint? But without waiting for him to think about the reason, Long Qingxia started directly. An épée appeared in his hand, and then he rushed directly to Mu Xiaoming. The speed was no worse than that of Mu Xiaoming in the realm of Emperor Wu. Get out of the way. Mu Xiaoming pushes Lin Yuntong out and rushes forward to fight with Long Qingxia. This is the first time that Long Qingxia has been fighting with an expert since he was promoted. Although Mu Xiaoming's strength is only Emperor Wu, he is much stronger than Xiaoyu Xiaoxia before, and Long Qingxia doesn't pay attention to him, so he doesn't do his best at all. Under the competition between them, it looks like a tie on the surface, but if Yunwu is sober at this time, he can see it at a glance come out. Mu Xiaoming has fallen behind. Sister Yin, what should I do? Huolinger looks anxiously at the war situation outside, and really wants to rush out to ask clearly. But Long Qingxia told her before that she would never leave Yunwu, because this kind of large amount of power infused into the body is the most likely to cause problems. At that time, a pill is likely to save her life. Huolinger only dares to murmur in a low voice, but she doesn't dare to let Yunwu hear what she says, for fear that her anger will disturb her cultivation. She can only do it in a hurry. Yo, little sister, you seem to have a lot of skills. Can you bring him out directly? Mu Xiaoming is entangled by Dragon's evil spirit. Lin Yuntong wanted to persuade him to fight. An enchanting woman blocks him directly. The huge nine-tail is smaller, but it still looks majestic. Lin Yuntong frowned and said, "Little sister? Who is the little sister?" It's a joke. She has been married for a long time. Although she looks very young, she can't be called a little sister. What's more, this woman obviously looks down on her. Xiaojiu chuckled, and his face was full of charm. She's a warcraft that existed in ancient times. It's polite to call Lin Yuntong little sister. If you really talk about her age, I'm afraid you can call her ancestor. But at this time, she was too lazy to worry about it. You see, they are all fighting, and we can't do it, can't we? Since you're with him, I'll just clean you up. With that, the tail behind Xiaojiu became bigger again, then spread out directly, and finally turned into a little white fox around him, totally 9 of which surrounded Lin Yuntong. Lin Yuntong's face instantly sank down, looking at Small 9 said, I don't want to fight with you. It's not about whether you want to or not. It's you who pick up the first thing. You have to make a result before you can continue to talk about things, don't you? After that, Small 9 enchanted smile, gently raised the right hand, palm light flashing, finally merged into a sword. Thunder is warcraft. Lin Yuntong has seen a lot of things. At a glance, she can see Xiaojiu's real body. Or the ancient beast. Are you the guardian beast of this tomb? I have a good eye. Small 9 said. Just don't know your strength, let me try. Then, with an order, the 9 white foxes pounced on Lin Yuntong impolitely. Wait. Lin Yuntong suddenly thought of something and wanted to make it clear to Xiaojiu. But his voice just came out, and before he could say the following words, Xiaojiu's attack was in front of him. Xiaojiu in the realm of Emperor Wu and Lin Yuntong in the peak of Emperor Wu have an insurmountable gap between them. Although Xiaojiu didn't exert all his strength, Lin Yuntong had to resist with all his strength. He didn't even have time to speak. The explanation he just wanted to export was swallowed directly. On the other side, Huilin ran directly to Huating's side, with a serious face and asked, Lord, what's the matter? How can you? Then he took his eyes and looked at the cloud dance behind them. I'd like to ask you what's the matter. Huating frowned and said, Aren't they friends with Miss Yunwu? Why do you shout, fight and kill as soon as you come? This. As soon as he heard Huating's name for Yunwu, Huilin knew that they had misunderstood each other. If Huasher town really turned over to Miss Yunwu, how could Huating, as the city leader, be so polite? So Huilin immediately told some of them about meeting the Lord of Mu. The Lord of Mu City. It's disgusting, Huating said fiercely. If you don't get the jade medal, you'll sow dissension. You want to use this move to make our nest chaotic. We are here to protect the Dharma for Miss Yunwu. How can we be the ones who want to win the jade medal? Lord. Until this time, Huilin finally understood that the 3 of them were taken by the Lord of Namu. Lord, what should we do now? On the square, Mu Xiaoming fought fiercely, but they all had a tacit understanding. They were far away from Yunwu and others. For fear of disturbing her cultivation, even Mu Xiaoming, who wanted to get close to her, rushed forward. In the duel between the experts, people below Wuzong can't intervene at all. Even if Huating wants to get involved in the 2 battles, it's difficult, let alone someone else? No, they have to be stopped. Huating said if someone is injured on both sides, that is not the consequence he can bear. At the moment, regardless of their own safety, they went forward and looked at the 2 wars. They went directly to Lin Yuntong's side and yelled at them. Don't fight. It's all a misunderstanding. Everyone is for Miss Yunwu. Please stop for a while and listen to my explanation. Explain it. If you want to explain, just say it. I'm not interested in stopping to listen to you. Mu Xiaoming has been beaten by Long Qingxia. He has been holding his breath for a long time. At this time, Huating just comes to the door, which makes him swear. Huating's face turned blue and white for a while, but looking at the hot man, he weighed the speaker's strength and his own strength in his heart, swallowed the dissatisfaction, and said again, Young Xia, you are cheated by the city master. We are protecting the Dharma for Miss Yunwu. We don't mean to hurt her. Long Xiaoxia, little 9 girl, please stop. They are Miss Yunwu's friends. They mistakenly think that we are going to snatch the jade medal, so they are so desperate. He was worthy of being the leader of the city. After a few words, he told the story. As soon as the words were finished, the 4 people who were in full swing in the war stopped as if they had been splashed with cold water. Little guy's friend? Long Qingxia eyebrows picked, looking at the opposite Wu Xiaoming said, Protect her? Isn't it betrayal? Mu Xiaoming then understood what the words before Long Qingxia meant. It turned out that his betrayal meant that he betrayed Yunwu's feelings? You fart. When will I do something wrong to my friends? It's you. Little dance is well cultivated there, but you have to squat beside it. What's wrong with your heart? Mu Xiaoming has already believed Huating's words in his heart. When he thinks about it carefully, there are many suspicious places along the way. However, as soon as he hears Long Qingxie calling Cloud Dance so intimately, Mu Xiaoming is angry with himself, and then he replies impolitely, "The little fellow must have someone to protect the Dharma when he is practicing. As her husband, shouldn't I be with her?" Long Qingxie feels Mu Xiaoming's displeasure. He picks his eyebrows and says that his attitude is even more impolite. How dare this man covet the little guy? It's only been a long time since the separation. The little guy has new followers. It seems that he has to keep a close eye on people in the future. Long Qingxie's thoughts flashed in his heart, but his face was indifferent, as if he didn't see Mu Xiaoming at all. "What did you say?" "My husband." Mu Xiaoming widened his eyes and said, "How can it be? When did Xiao Wu get married? How can there be a husband? Why can't we have a husband?" "Yes. Didn't she say that?" Long Qingxie was very proud, but his face was still light. "It seems that I have to remind her after her cultivation. Since you are her friend, let's protect the Dharma for her." Having said that, Long Qingxie said nothing more and turned to Yunwu. Mu Xiaoming has just been the news of thunder outside Jiao inside tender. At this time to see the dragon evil self-confidence appearance, disdain to compete with himself, can't help thinking, is Xiao Wu really married? On the other hand, the battle between Lin Yuntong and Lin Yuntong also stopped. "Since you are the host's friend, I won't embarrass you. You are not weak, and you seem to be very strange. If you have a chance in the future, I will fight you well," Xiaojiu said with a smile, looking at Lin Yuntong as if looking at his prey. As soon as he lifted his jade hand and waved his hand gently, the released foxes were called back one after another and turned into 9 tails and disappeared behind Xiaojiu. At this point, a farce is finally over, and Huolinger is finally relieved and sits down beside Yunwu. "Hello, Lord, is that man really Xiao Wu's husband?" Would Xiaoming does not give up the heart of drag to come back of Firetongue, quietly asked. Huoting was stunned and looked at Long Qingxie's figure. Then he thought about the two people's appearance when they were together. He nodded and said, "Yes, he always calls himself husband in front of Miss Yunwu." "Ah." Mu Xiaoming let out a disappointed voice, and then sat down dejected. Long Qingxie turned his back to them, and the corners of his mouth were slightly hooked up when they couldn't see him. The cold wind in the forest made them shiver, and the atmosphere became a little serious. Xiao Ran and Situlan were silent and sped forward quietly. After a day's galloping, they finally arrived at their destination. But before they entered the city, they saw a mass of red smoke rising in the city. Suddenly Xiao Ran stamped his feet and shot forward. "Hurry up! Sister Huanxiang is in danger." Situlan's heart sank, and he hastened to speed up. When he arrived at Wenj Island, Situlan was stunned, because he saw that there were soldiers who could not get up from the Magic Fragrance's residence, and the people around him were screaming and running away. From Magic Fragrance. Situlan is anxious in the heart, shouting, "Draw out long sword to rush in." As soon as I entered the room, I saw Tsong Huanxiang fall to the ground, coughing violently. Beside me, a group of people were standing, all pointing at Tsong Huanxiang with weapons. "What are you doing?" Situ Lanchong went forward and waved away all the people around him. He rushed in and picked up Tsong Huanxiang. He reached out to hold her by the wrist. His heart sank. Sure enough, he was poisoned by Huanxiang. "I'm afraid it won't last long." "What's the matter? You have to deal with a girl like this." Situ Lan lifted up from the magic incense, put it on the stool, and said in a low voice, "You sit here to breathe. Xiao Ran and I will deal with these people in front of you." Just about to leave, but see from magic incense suddenly stretched out his hand to seize Situ Lan's arm, gritted his teeth and gasped, extremely hard but hoarse mouth. "Situ Lan, you don't fight with them, it's not good for you at all, they just come to me." Hearing this, Situ Lan couldn't help frowning. He arranged the magic incense and said, "The grace of saving lives should be rewarded by Yongquan. Look up to Xiao Ran, but see Xiao Ran a pair of indifferent appearance, but a face vigilant looking at the elder Cheng in front of." Situ Lan sat up, but he didn't see the loss in the eyes of Huan Xiang. "You are treason." Situ Lan coldly looks at elder Cheng in front of him, and his words are full of anger. "Treason. Old Chung snorted coldly and sat on the stool behind him, holding the water channel that the little maid poured for him. I am rebellious. I've long thought that this woman is not agreeable to me. If she has no ability, she will become the leader of the island by virtue of her beauty. What kind of ability does she have? Now the people of Wengo Island are in dire straits. I think if we change the owner of the island as soon as possible, we will all live in peace. People in need? Situlan felt a little funny in his heart. This man was really lying with his eyes open. He held up his sword indifferently, and his whole body was suddenly wrapped by fighting spirit. Xiaoran saw that Situlan was so wrapped by fighting spirit. In an instant, the air pressure of the whole room suddenly decreased. I think that the realm of the two of us can wipe out your whole army. If you don't want to leave here in disgrace today, I advise you to leave now. Situlan tugs at the corner of his mouth and a smile appears. The people on the scene actually looked at each other, and their eyes showed uneasiness. Xiaoran and Situlan are in the same realm. If they have to fight for each other today, they will not be able to gain any advantage. With this in mind, Chung Chong hums coldly, raises his hand and asks the people behind him to put away his weapons, and says faintly, "It doesn't matter. We cannot kill the enchantress today, but we want the enchantress before tomorrow night in front of the whole island. Give me the position of the island's owner." Xiaoran wanted to say something more, but Situlan stopped him and winked. Those people did not dare to act rashly. After watching them for a while, they waved their hands and left. See, the person in front of finally left, from magic incense finally vomit breath, suddenly fell from the chair. Scared, Xiaoran rushes forward to pick up the magic fragrance and looks at Situlan. Situlan sighed, took back the sword, and said, "Take the magic incense to the house." I didn't expect that Xiaoran, who was always dissatisfied with Situlan, now nodded very cleverly and turned away from the magic fragrance. Surprised for a long time, Situlan had no choice but to smile bitterly. He turned his head and looked out of the window. He saw that outside the mansion, there were already wars and chaos, chickens flying and dogs jumping, and cries everywhere. Thinking of the prosperity when I just came to the island, I was disappointed and sighed. I followed Xiaoran to the inner room. Put her there. Situlan rode. Xiaoran, very obedient, will from magic incense on the bed, and turned to see Situlan. In the heart is thinking about the next countermeasures, but heard the side from the magic fragrance light vomit a breath, turned to see, from the magic fragrance has opened his eyes, to Xiaoran said, "You go out first, I have something to say with Situlan." Xiaoran's face changed slightly, but he didn't say anything. He turned and left. Hearing the door close gently, he suddenly laughed from the magic incense, and sighed helplessly. Up to now, it's a child's temper, alas. He coughed twice, turned his head to see Situlan, and said faintly, "Xiaoran, a child, grew up under my protection all day long. When something happened, he didn't know what to do. At this time, he was at a loss." Situlan was dumbfounded, but changed the topic. Why did Elder Ching suddenly start at this time? From then on, Huan Xiang suddenly gave a bitter smile, but he was very helpless. He thought you were the rescuer I invited, but you suddenly disappeared. Just yesterday, another fleet of us at sea was suddenly attacked by pirates and suffered heavy losses. Mr. Chung may think this is the best time, so said, finally vomited a tone. Fortunately, Xiaoran found you in time, otherwise you may come back to see our bodies. Situlan bowed his head, thought for a long time, and finally said, "Now I can only go to meet Elder Chung and threaten him to take out the antidote." He bowed his head for a moment, and sighed again. "Don't worry. I have a way with this poison." From the magic incense smile, obviously a clear look. "But I feel that after tomorrow, we will have no peace." Situlan saw from the magic incense said so, also vomited a tone. "These days I come to protect your safety." He stood up and walked out. "You can take good care of yourself. If you need anything, please call me at any time." He nodded from the magic incense and watched Situlan leave with a smile. Back to the residence arranged for him by Huanxiang, Situlan immediately sat cross-knee and carried out his work to adjust his breath. All these experiences in the forest left him with many scars. Now he finally had time to adjust his breath and recuperate. However, when Jailand experienced such a catastrophe again, which made Situlan feel very heavy in his heart. After inspecting his body, Situlan found that he was full of fighting spirit and seemed to have some improvement. It seemed that breaking through the realm was just around the corner. However, he suddenly remembered that Elder Chung said that he would negotiate with several people the next day, frowned slightly, and continued to sit cross-knee and concentrate on cultivation. If he broke through the realm in these days, it might be helpful for him to recapture Wenj Island from magic incense. It's very useful. But before long, I heard a sudden knock on the door. Situlan quickly opened his eyes and ran to open the door. There's something wrong with Sister Huanxiang. Xiao Ran stood outside Situlan's door looking anxious. What's the matter? Situlanshin mentions his voice and rushes out of the room without saying a word. Xiao Ran follows behind him and runs into the room of Huaxiang. Seeing Song Huanxiang lying on the bed, his face was pale, his lips were bloody, and he seemed to be in a coma. This made Situlan very nervous. He went forward to hold Song Huanxiang's hand and examined it carefully. His face changed greatly. I didn't expect that this poison was developing so fast. He bowed his head and thought for a moment, then turned to push the door. Where are you going, young Xia? Xiao Ran suddenly stopped Situlan behind him and said anxiously, I think Sister Huanxiang is going to die now. Of course, I'm going to find that Elder Chung for the antidote. So he went on. This poison of hers can persist till tomorrow. I'm with you. Xiao Ran frowned, pursed his pretty lips, took out his weapon, and went to Situlan. But Situlan shook his head and stopped him. Now you should stay by the side of Huanxiang to protect her, because if she is attacked, she will die. Xiao Ran Lung suddenly seemed to understand something, nodded, turned back to the room from the magic incense, shut the door. Night soon fell. Situlan looked at the mansion in front of him and frowned. The crowd that used to be bustling on the street is now empty, leaving only a piece of garbage and countless bleak leaves flying with the wind. When he looked around, it seemed that there was no one. He flew up and jumped into the mansion in front of him. In Elder Cheng's mansion, there is a lot of noise and lights. Countless guards inspect it. Situlan lowers his body and stares at the house in front of him. It's not hard to see that the biggest room in the center must be Elder Cheng's bedroom. And now there are countless people in it, coming and going, very busy. Situlan avoided the guard and jumped towards the house, lying under the window, listening quietly. I said, Elder Chung, is this really okay? I don't think that poison has any effect on Song Huanxiang. In this way, Song Huanxiang will be more cautious about us. After all, she is the leader of the island, and her power is much stronger than ours. Having said that, our power is not weak either. I'm afraid we can frustrate her a lot if we add several elders together. She won't give us the island tomorrow. We have to have a strategy. Don't worry. I have the antidote for the poison in her body. If she doesn't agree tomorrow, I will throw the antidote into the sea. Within 2 days she will fester and die. On hearing this, Situlan's eyes suddenly turned red, and his anger suddenly rose up. He kicked open the window and rushed in. There was a howl all over the room. Before he could resist, Situlan had already controlled Elder Chung. He put his sword on Elder Cheng's neck and gritted his teeth. Where is the antidote? All of a sudden, all the people who haven't reacted just now take out their weapons and point at Situlan. But Situlan was not afraid at all. He put his sword against Elder Cheng's neck. Blood was flowing down his sword. Chung Chong was in a panic and cried out, Don't move, don't move. Put down your weapons at this time. The door was suddenly knocked open, and in an instant countless bodyguards swarmed in. The swords were facing each other, and countless people surrounded Situlan. But Situlan was not afraid. He held Elder Cheng in his hands, bowed his head and said in Elder Cheng's ear, Where is the antidote? Or I'll kill you tonight. Yes, in the cupboard over there. Elder Chung was scared and quickly pointed to the opposite cabinet. Situlan slightly hooked the corner of his mouth, took Elder Chung to the cupboard, pointed to the cupboard and said, Give it to me. Elder Chung shouts in a hurry, goes forward, takes out a small porcelain vase and hands it to Situlan. Don't worry, the antidote of this small porcelain vase will never have any problem. With that he laughed twice. Carefully scrutinizing the small porcelain bottle in hand, he opened it and looked at the 2 pills in the bottle, doubting. I'll see if you have one first. Situlan picks eyebrows and looks at Elder Cheng's pale face. Otherwise, how can I believe what you said? Cheng Elder immediately cold sweat Sinsen, scratched to scratch ahead, took the Dan medicine in Situlan's hand. This pill is very valuable. You say I have no problem. How can I waste it so much? Before Elder Cheng finished, he was interrupted by Situlan and said, You give me some to eat first. Otherwise, I'm afraid your life will be wasted. Elder Cheng took a deep breath and looked left and right. Then he finally poured out a pill and put it in his hand. He pretended to put it in his mouth. But suddenly, Elder Cheng threw the pill in his hand at Situlan's face. In an instant, all the people around rushed up and separated Situlan from Elder Cheng. At this time there were so many people that Situlan had no way to play. He had to watch the people around him take Elder Cheng away. In an instant, a large group of soldiers rushed in to surround Situlan and fight each other. Situlan couldn't help laughing. Looking at the group of soldiers in front of him, he suddenly sighed. I don't want to fight the innocent. Today, I just want to get back the antidote. I don't have any other plans. So I think you'd better go back. Otherwise, I think it's a very helpless thing to fight. What do you say? The soldiers in front of him felt that Situlan was very powerful. At this time, when he heard what Situlan said, he had already backed out. He turned his head and looked at Elder Cheng, who was protected by the soldiers. But Elder Cheng was cold and said in a loud voice, Who killed this man today? I'll give you 30 taels of gold. As soon as I heard of gold, everyone became interested and turned around with high morale. Seeing this, Situlan just sighed and shook his head. He suddenly took the sword in his hand and rushed to a soldier in front of him. The person in front of has not yet reacted to come over. Has already been beaten on the stomach by Situlan's fist, instantly scream. Have already fallen on the ground to roll. Originally not big room. The moment is narrow as if nothing can be installed. Surrounded by a lot of soldiers, but Situlan didn't look at them at all. He turned to Elder Cheng and said indifferently, You give me the antidote, and I'll leave immediately. Otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Your soldiers are not my opponents. What Situlan said doesn't make sense. In fact, Cheng Changlau's face is pale and dignified. Of course, he knows that the strength of the man in front of him is unfathomable. The invisible pressure makes everyone around him turn pale. He bowed his head and pondered for a while, then suddenly sneered. But if I tell you that there is no antidote for this poison, what should you do? In Situlan's eyes he was furious. Regardless of the sword in front of him, he went straight to Elder Cheng's direction. It seems that I was too kind to you just now. With that, he knocked all the soldiers down on the ground and clawed them toward Elder Cheng's neck. Elder Cheng was scared. He didn't have time to react at such a fast speed. He had been pressed on the wall by Situlan and couldn't breathe at all. His face turned red instantly. It seems that Situlan is really angry. He grabs Elder Cheng's neck and makes his face blue. His feet are struggling on the wall, but there is no way to get rid of him. Tell me where the antidote is? Situlan's eyes seem to be bursting with fire. Elder Cheng points to his neck in a hurry. His face turns red. He can't breathe at all. His eyes turn around and he's about to breathe. Situlan raises his mouth and puts Elder Cheng on the ground. Elder Cheng sat down on the ground, coughing violently, panting hard, as if the wine was about to pass. Situlan sat down and looked at Elder Cheng on the ground. He didn't see how many people were around him. I'll give it to you. Elder Cheng gasped and coughed twice. He trembled and walked to the cupboard, opened the door, took out a small porcelain vase from the innermost lattice, and handed it to Situlan. This is the antidote. It's definitely not wrong. The poison I gave her is a chronic poison. It's nothing to insist on for half a month. Nevertheless, it's very easy to fry everyday boil. Take this antidote, not half a column of incense time. We'll see obvious improvement, said, looking up at Situlan, full of sincerity. Situlan snorted coldly, took the antidote in his hand and said, "If there's something wrong with eating this from the magic incense, then I'll take your life and bury it with her." Then he took the elder with one hand and said, "Follow me." So without waiting for Elder Chung to react, he has already picked him up and walked out. Suddenly, behind a burst of noise, take Elder Chung out of the room and walk towards the residence of Magic Fragrance. All the way Mr. Chung faltered and couldn't keep up with Situlan's steps. But Situlan didn't care at all. He kept walking forward, but he didn't see the evil and indifferent smile on the corner of his mouth. Pushed the door into the room from the Magic Fragrance. From the magic incense is still dying lying in bed. Breathing has become shallow. As soon as Situlan throws Elder Chung to the ground, Xiaoran immediately pulls out the sword and puts it on Elder Cheng's neck. He says, "Situlan will help from the magic incense." The pill into his mouth, a fight into the air. The moment the pill into a warm current, into the throat from the magic incense. Not long after that, he suddenly breathed a breath from the magic incense, and then opened his eyes. Situlan looked at it and finally vomited. He turned to Elder Chung and said coldly, "I'm afraid you still have a little conscience." Chung Chong lowered his head and said nothing. He closed his eyes as if he was going to sleep. Xiaoran, find 2 people to take care of Elder Chung, and let him go back early tomorrow morning. He turned his head to see Tsong Huanxiang, who was sleeping on the bed, and said with a sneer, "Who knows if this man has any conspiracy? I'm afraid that there will be something wrong with this medicine before tomorrow morning." Seeing from the face of the Magic Fragrance become ruddy, Xiaoran's eyes are out of the light, although still a cold face appearance, but the corner of the mouth has already faintly raised a smile, nodded, watching Elder lift to walk toward the outside. Situlan finally vomited a breath, sat for a while from the Magic Fragrance side, got up to walk toward own room. There is always an ominous premonition in his heart. Situlan feels that he should improve his state quickly, otherwise, it will be difficult to deal with the next things. So he closed his eyes and sat on the bed. In the morning of the second day, Situlan opened his eyes and felt clear and comfortable. When he inspected his body, he found that his fighting spirit was more overflowing and seemed to be about to break through, but he always kept at such a level and made no progress at all. This distressed him so much that he sighed, got up and walked out of the room. Outside the gate, there was a sudden noise which made Situlan stop and look at the door. I saw a large number of soldiers at the door, which seemed to be Elder Cheng's private army. At this time they had surrounded the mansion of magic incense, but there were still a lot of people. At this time, they were all outside shouting, "Let Elder Cheng go." There was an ominous premonition in his heart, which made Situlan frown tightly and walk towards the room of Magic Fragrance. But see, Sharon has come out of his own room. I seem to be very anxious. We hit the trick. Situlan's heart sank and he didn't speak. He just hooked up with Xiaoran's shoulder, pulled him into the room of Huaxiang, closed the door of the room, and said, "Is it a trick that Elder Cheng asked me to catch him yesterday? Just gave them a proper reason to find trouble with Huaxiang?" With this thought, Situlan couldn't help thinking. Yes, he was too worried last night, so that he ignored the key problem. That's why he could walk out of Elder Cheng's house so easily. It should be a bloody fight. He sighed helplessly, patted his forehead, turned his head and looked out at the noisy crowd. Suddenly his head was big. Let's let Elder Cheng go now. Otherwise, I'm afraid things will get more and more serious. Xiaoran seems very nervous. But Song Huanxiang and Situlan shook their heads together, and they didn't agree with him. In fact, what they need is a reason. No matter what you do now, it will become their handle. Situlan Rai smile. It seems that today's war is inevitable. She turned her head and looked at Song Huanxiang. She was sitting on the bed with her hair falling down. She looked weak and beautiful. She followed her hair and said with a smile, "It's okay. Anyway, we have to fight with him sooner or later. If you are here now, we may have a better chance of winning." Situlan, some complex looking at from the magic incense, don't know what to say. Xiaoran, help me up. From the magic incense way. Today we take this Elder Cheng as a chip, to negotiate. Xiaoran obediently walked to from fantasy side. We'll help her from the bed. Help her put on clothes, silent. From the magic incense, let Xiaoran help himself to tie up his hair. Turn to Situlan, smile. You don't have to be sad anyway, such a thing. Every country or tribe is inevitable. Turning around, he took out a small bottle from the cupboard beside his bed, handed it to Situlan and said, Here is the pill for cultivation, which can help you improve your state quickly. You might as well try this one. It may not help you much, but I can only help you so much. Situlan was stunned to see from Huanxiang. After a long time, he suddenly pushed back with a bitter smile. No, I'd better leave this precious thing to you. Now is the time of weakness. I think it's just right for you. Take it. He pushed back from the magic incense and said, Now you are also helping me. If this little power can help you break through, it will also help me, don't you think? In this way, Situlan could not refuse, so he had to thank him for taking the pills, stood up and walked towards the door. I'll go outside to have a look. So he pushed the door and went out. As soon as I got to the door, I saw the guard standing in front of the door in distress, motioning to the guard to open the door. I saw Elder Li and Elder Zhao standing in front of me, with countless people behind me, looking at Situlan in front of me. This is the man. It was this man who took Elder Qing away yesterday. Someone suddenly shouts at the side. Situlan hasn't said anything. The people below suddenly get excited. As soon as I got to the door, I saw the guard standing in front of the door in distress, motioning to the guard to open the door. I saw Elder Li and Elder Zhao standing in front of me, with countless people behind me, looking at Situlan in front of me. This is the man. It was this man who took Elder Qing away yesterday. Someone suddenly shouts at the side. Situlan hasn't said anything. The people below suddenly get excited. A large group of people are about to rush up and peel Situlan alive. Situlan turned his head and looked behind him. With the help of Xiaoran, he came out of the room and stood beside him. Suddenly, those people under the stairs did not speak. Although these people are the private soldiers of these elders, the authority of magic incense still exists. Ladies and gentlemen, from the magic incense to the door, without leaving a trace, he reached out and grabbed Situlan's clothes, forced himself to stand in front of these people, cold sweat, but as always. Today, I think we can make an exchange with Elder Qing. Words immediately let the people under the steps have no voice, looking at from magic incense silent. Qing Chang is always in our hands, but I won't catch any elder without any reason. Anyway, you are all the people who helped my father. From Huanxiang, he gasped. His face was a little pale, and his hand holding Situlan's clothes was more and more tight, but his face was calm. If you have to fight me, I'm afraid I won't be kind to you anymore. Then he turned and walked towards the house. Please, everyone. The island leader will not send me away. If I didn't think that the people would suffer from the war, I'm afraid I would not have been soft-hearted. So please take care of yourself. Say pull Situlan and Xiaoran. Turn round to walk into the room. Bang of shut the door. Suddenly, there was silence outside, and there was no more noise. Before he got to the room, he had already sat down on the ground with his legs softened and his clothes soaked in cold sweat. Although the poison is relieved, the side effects will take some time. Now it's still too reluctantly. He looked up at Situlan and said with a bitter smile. Situlan pursed her mouth, frowned and watched from the magic fragrance for a long time. Finally, she turned her head and said to Xiaoran, You can carry from the magic fragrance to the house. With that, he walked straight to his room without saying another word. From Huanxiang's eyes, staring at Situlan's leaving direction without blinking, tears in his eyes, I don't know what he is thinking. Back in his room, Situlan immediately sat down with his knees crossed, ate the pills and began to concentrate on cultivation. At night, the whole island is still and noisy. We may feel that the atmosphere of the whole island is not right, but the people are still happy. There was a sudden roar in the sky, and suddenly thunder and dark clouds rolled over the whole island of Wingo. The people of Wingo Island look at the sky strangely. The sky is like the lightning of a giant dragon flying through the dark clouds. The thunder cloud, however, slowly gathered in the sky above the magic incense mansion. Suddenly, A gust of wind made the soldiers surrounded by the outside look pale, pointing to the thunder cloud in the sky and talking about it. It seems that Situlan is going to be robbed. From the magic incense suddenly stand up, rushed to the window, looking at the black clouds outside the window. I suddenly full of hope. Thunder clouds were shining silver under the black sky, splitting the night sky. Someone's going to rob. The soldiers standing outside kept shouting, pointing to the night sky, and their tone was full of excitement. But the elders could not help frowning and looking at the growing thunder clouds in the sky. Their expressions became more and more serious. Situlan sat in the room, frowning, very serious, did not expect, eat this pill, unexpectedly once will enhance the strength up, attracted thunder robbery. I didn't expect that in a short time. The thunder clouds rolled, and the first thunder had been thundering down. Suddenly, the roof of the room was pierced into a big hole, which made Situlan's chi and blood surge, and the fighting spirit suddenly enveloped his whole body, but he still spewed out a big mouthful of blood. From the magic fragrant heart tight, almost didn't want to rush out of the room. Only heard outside the mansion, do not know who ordered. Attack in. Then the door was smashed open. Countless soldiers rushed out and ran to the mansion of magic incense, shouting to hand over Elder Chong. With a loud bang, the whole night sky seemed to be torn. The thunder hit the house again, and suddenly the whole courtyard was bright. Everyone was stunned and looked at the sky. Suddenly, I didn't know who it was, I yelled. Go and attack the man who robbed me. He's at his weakest now. So countless soldiers around suddenly turned around and rushed to Situlan's room. Situlan, who was concentrating on the robbery, started to smile and spit out a mouthful of blood. He suddenly drew out his sword and held it high to the night sky. There was another loud noise. A sky thunder split the roof of the house and attacked towards Situlan. But Situlan didn't hide at all. He let the sky thunder, like a giant dragon, entangle his sword and extend downward. A group of people suddenly broke into the door and ran towards Situlan, shouting, but the man who took the lead was suddenly stunned. His face turned pale, and he stepped back 2 steps. Even his voice changed. Go away. Everybody, get out of here. After a word, the whole team has fallen into chaos. The people behind have no time to react. The people in front have retreated, so after a while of chaos, everyone is in a mess. Situlan looked at the scene, laughed, spat out a mouthful of blood, endured the pain of being struck by lightning, and stabbed the sword with thunder towards a group of people. Sure enough, there was a flash of light, and 3 thunders split down in an instant. They gathered together on Situlan's sword and hit the crowd in front of him. There was a loud roar and a sudden howl. As soon as the smoke passed, there were countless people lying on the ground, dying and groaning. The soldiers outside were terrified, retreated, and no one dared to step forward. The whole mansion has been broken through a big hole, and half of the houses have collapsed, which makes everyone see the scene in the house. Situlan holds his sword high, and the whole sword body is wrapped by lightning. The powerful aura makes countless people around him change color. I don't think we can save Chingchong today. Elderly said to Elder Zhao that he turned around and left in a hurry, but he was held by Elder Zhao's arm. That's not good. It's agreed that today we will destroy the magic incense together. Don't you see that now? Where do we have a chance to attack them? The words haven't finished. In front of Situlan, hand carrying long sword, toward Li Zhao 2 people gallop but go, mercilessly stab past. All of a sudden, Li and Zhao felt a flash of golden light in front of them. Before they could avoid it, they screamed out and were struck by lightning. When they landed, their faces were covered with blood and they were about to die. Situlan looked at the sky and gave a wry smile. He saw that the thunder clouds in the sky became smaller and disappeared gradually, but the sky was covered with dark clouds. Then it began to rain. Situlan Chong breathed a breath and looked forward. He saw that he ran out of the house beside him and came to him anxiously, but he couldn't hear what he said from Huan Xiang. Then the world began to shake violently, and then nothing could be seen. When he opened his eyes again, the pain almost spread all over his body, and he couldn't help humming. There was a rush of footsteps around him, followed by the sound of opening the door and shouting, Young Xia Situ, wake up! He's awake after a while, The figure of Huaxiang appeared beside Situlan. With tears in her eyes, she reached out to hold Situlan's hand. You're awake. I'm scared to death. Some uncomfortable. Situlan does not leave a trace of his hand from the hands of magic incense out. Sat up. I sleep for a long time? That's natural. You've been sleeping for 3 days. Our island owner hasn't had much rest these 3 days, and has been taking care of you, said the little maid. Suddenly let Situlan very guilty, looking at from the magic fragrance has green-black eyes, some moved in the heart. I have nothing to do. He turned to look out of the window, but there was a moment of silence outside the window and asked Song Huanxiang around him. Has everything been settled? From the magic incense quickly nodded and laughed. Solved. Elder Zhao and Elder Li have been killed by Tianlei. Elder Cheng is no longer in good shape. I've demobilized their private troops and re-interrogated and examined the elder. All the elders with different intentions have been demobilized. Hearing this, Situlan finally breathed out and laughed. That's really great. The rebellion, which had been strangled in the cradle before it started, ended in failure because of Situlan's robbery. Wengo Island was full of praise, and many people began to praise the rare battle. Situlan and Song Huanxiang sat in the tavern, drinking wine, listening to the storyteller around them, who wrote the whole mythical battle into a story and told it in the tavern, but they had no choice but to smile. These people are really exaggerating. We don't have people like you here. It's amazing to see such a scene. From the magic Xiang side, smiled gently, did not just meet the kind of enchantment, but revealed a touch of tenderness and sweetness. It's time I went to my friend. Situlan said, picking up the glass and sipping it lightly, with a slight reluctant tone. Little brother Shaoran really likes you. I don't think you should turn away this intention. Hearing this sentence, the whole person from Huanxiang was stunned. For a long time, he suddenly burst out with a laugh. You are still there. It's true. I can see the child's feelings for me. After a pause he sighed. But he will find a better woman than me. To him, I am just a confidant who is also a teacher and a friend. The setting sun gives the whole island a layer of orange. In the evening, the whole island is salty and wet by the sea breeze. When are you going to leave? From Huanxiang to see Situlan in a daze. Situlan just reflected this and turned to Song Huanxiang. By the way, I suddenly want to consult the owner of Tsong Island about something. Hearing the title of the island leader, Song Huanxiang couldn't laugh or cry. She nodded in a hurry. Just tell me straight. You have helped me so much. I will try my best to help you if I can help you. After a quiet thought, Situlan said slowly. My friends and I were attacked when we used the teleport array in the border of Mudu. We were scattered all over the world. Now I need to go back to them. Looking at the serious eyes from the magic incense, Situlan lowered his head again. I want to ask, is there a transmission array that can be used by me? Hearing the 3 words of the teleportation array, he was dumbfounded and broke into laughter. He held his forehead and sighed. Why didn't you say you need teleportation array earlier? Otherwise, I would have left long ago. Why wait until so many things have happened here? Standing up, smiling at Situlan, he walked out of the tavern. Let's go, I'll take you. Situlan Lung Lung did not respond, but feel his hand was caught from the magic incense, toward the pub. If you leave here, can you still remember me? From Huanxiang, he didn't turn his head, but Situlan saw something glittering and translucent and fell to the ground. It has been more than half a day since the tomb of the ancient summoner was opened. Some people who searched for many treasures felt that they could no longer snatch other treasures, so they searched for the exit and left the tomb. However, when they left, they found that all the treasures in their personal space disappeared, and they all suspected that the previous tomb experience was just a dream. What's the matter? It's clearly in the space. The leader of a small team looked at the things in his space bracelet and said with a puzzled look on his face, this is a temporary team. When this happens, everyone thinks it's the captain's embezzlement. How can it be? Do you have any other space? We're moving things while we're not paying attention? The captain has to look at all the places on his body, but he still has nothing. Immediately after that, There were other teams around, which also had a similar situation. What's the matter? It's clear that we're separate. Why is it all gone? Another team leader also anxiously said. One team after another had this problem. Finally, the first team leader gritted his teeth and said, there must be something wrong with this grave. Let's go in again while we still have time. Maybe there are too many teams with problems, so people also have doubts in their hearts. They all nodded and agreed with the captain. A small group of people rushed into the tomb again. Afraid that the time of closing the tomb is coming, they missed a chance to get rich. And in the location of the central square of the tomb, Xiaojiu sensed that someone had entered the tomb again. He couldn't help but hook his mouth and said sarcastically, it seems that someone has found something wrong. People around her looked at her suspiciously, but Xiaojiu just laughed and closed her eyes. Like Xiaojiu, Yunwu, who has absorbed part of her strength, can feel that there seems to be an inexplicable connection between herself and the tomb. The map of the tomb looms in her mind. However, whenever Yunwu wants to go to a detailed inspection of a certain place, it always becomes blurred. It seems that we haven't absorbed enough. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. Now she has absorbed it for more than an hour. If it is used as a pill, even the power of high-level pill should be absorbed almost, but the power transmitted by Jade Brand is still endless. Cloud Dance heart rate move once again accelerated the speed of their absorption. Huge energy is constantly infused into Cloud Dance's body, and the force of elements becomes more and more abundant. Even the fighting spirit in the body becomes more and more. Before long, Yunwu suddenly felt that the power he absorbed was blocked. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't improve a little, and the original realm of rising water and rising ship also stopped. Cloud Dance knows that it has encountered the first bottleneck. Originally, it was just the strength of Emperor Wu in the early stage. At this time, if we can make a breakthrough, we can directly reach the middle stage of Emperor Wu. And it is less than 2 hours before she absorbs strength. It's going to break through. Dragon Qing Evil has been closed, eyes suddenly opened, looking at the cloud figure, eyes full of thick doting. This voice is not loud words attracted many people's attention, so people have to look at the past, full of expectations. The Cloud Dance in the cultivation doesn't know all this. Although the realm can't be further improved, the Cloud Dance is still absorbing power. Those forces are circling in the body, moistening every inch of the body. After Yunwu has tempered all the muscles, all the forces are gathered together. The bottleneck is near, but Yunwu doesn't break through it by force. She knows that she has absorbed too much power this time. Only when she has accumulated enough power can she use these forces to make a natural breakthrough, which is the best way to improve her strength. If you break through the bottleneck rashly, it will inevitably make your strength become fragile after promotion. With the accumulation of strength, Yunwu is not worried at all. Finally, after a long time, the power finally accumulated to a certain extent. In the quiet environment, it seemed that there was a bow sound as if some estrangement had been suddenly broken, and people around felt as if their heart had trembled with this slight sound, and they were afraid to stare at the clouds. Bottleneck break it for me. Cloud Dance cold drink in the heart, that has accumulated for a long time the strength of a drum, that for many people may not be able to break through the bottleneck in a lifetime. In front of that huge force instantly become fragile. After a slight boo, it's broken. Originally accumulated to the extreme of the power of the moment like a flood opened the valve in general, roaring into a new realm. The middle period of Emperor Wu. The middle period of Emperor Wu, Huoting said in shock. This sound immediately shocked the people of Flint Town sitting around. In a short period of time, Cloud Dance was directly promoted to a higher level, and it was still the realm of Emperor Wu. Huoting was a little lost, thinking about why he didn't have such good luck. But when I think about it, I don't have that kind of talent at all. Even if I get the Jade Medal, I may not be able to enter the realm of Emperor Wu. What's more, Huoshi Town has a friend from the middle of Emperor Wu from now on. As the city leader, this is a great good thing. Sister Yin is so powerful. Huolinger's eyes twinkled like little stars. He looked at Yunwu admiringly and said, I don't know when Sister Yin will wake up. It's early. Dragon Qing Evil Light said. Just up a level, ancient summoner inheritance, cannot be so simple. As soon as the words came out, people just felt more expectant and looked at Yunwu with more fiery eyes. But in the practice of cloud dance, I don't know how the people around me react. Cloud dance only feel that his body from the previous moment of full moment become incomparably empty, faster than before. I do not know how many times faster, more ferocious absorption of the huge power of the jade. It seems to feel the increase of suction in Yunwu's body, and the jade brand is not to be outdone. More and more power and speed are instilled into Yunwu's body. His body is like a person who has been marching in the desert for a long time, and needs to drink water urgently. He is absorbing those forces uncontrollably. Little by little, it's time for the grave to close. The grave is going to be closed. Are we? Huoting reckon the time. In fact, from just now on, he always wanted to remind everyone that everyone was so fascinated by Yunwu's promotion, that no one was willing to leave. Until this time, if he didn't start to find the exit, he was afraid that he would stay here forever. What's the hurry? Small Nine Light said. As long as the master became the master of the tomb, you are still afraid of their own out of it. Fire Ting Alung. This just remember oneself really some think too much. Just. Small Nine Voice a turn continued to say. Just what? Huoting asked suspiciously. Even if you can accept the inheritance, whether the host's body can withstand such a huge force is also a very important question for you. If you can't bear it. Later, Xiaojiu didn't continue to talk, just as if to say to himself. She even passed 3 tests, just inheritance should be able to bear it. Huoting was surprised. It seems that this matter is not absolute. Miss Cloud Dance has broken through again. There was a cry of surprise. There is a sharp-eyed person who has found the changes of Cloud Dance all over his body, which is much faster in the beginning, and the speed of absorption is speeded up again in an instant. And because he is closer to the Cloud Dance, so at this time is more clearly feel the Cloud Dance body to upload the pressure than before more frightening. The late period of Emperor Wu. Would Xiaoming Shock said, originally their strength is almost the same, but now Cloud Dance even promoted 2 levels, he really can't catch up. All kinds of thoughts flashed in Mu Xiaoming's mind for a moment. He was not only happy for the improvement of Cloud Dance's strength, but also lost for the distance between himself and her. Oh my god, it's the late period of Emperor Wu. The realm of Emperor Wu can even be upgraded 2 levels in a short day. It's amazing. Look, Miss Yunwu didn't even wake up. Will she continue to upgrade? The sound of discussion rang out one after another, and Huoting's just shaken mind was pressed down by this curiosity. Then calculate the time. The tomb opened a total of 12 hours. That is a whole day. And now there are about 2 hours to close. If you find the exit faster, you should have 1 hour. Let's wait another hour. Huoting thought, so he sat down again. He is the head of a city, no matter what time to take his own town as the main. Even if Cloud Dance for him is worth making friends. But compared with the town, he can't stay here all the time. A large part of this tomb is the elite of Flint Town. If Yunwu fails to accept the inheritance, they will stay here forever. Even if it's only 1 in 10,000, he can't let himself gamble on it. Up to now, Cloud Dance has completely fallen into the cultivation. It doesn't know what's going on outside. It only knows that with a little improvement of its strength, its body absorbs power faster and faster, but what's faster is the speed of instilling power into its body. It seems that the improvement of his strength is a kind of provocation for him, or to show his huge strength. The power in the Jade brand is like wrapping all the Cloud Dance together. Yunwu only felt that it was hard for her to absorb power, not that she could not absorb power. But the power is too abundant, and the speed of absorption can't keep up with it. If you are drunk with oxygen, under such a high concentration of power, Yunwu feels that it may be oppressed by this power at any time. No wonder the master said that the inheritance was not so easy to accept. That's the reason. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. In my mind, I think of what Mr. Chen said before he disappeared. If I feel that I can't accept inheritance, I'd rather not inherit it than give it up. Otherwise I will be destroyed. The spirit and the form are destroyed. Cloud Dance sneers in my heart. I don't believe it. It's just a small inheritance. How can it be difficult for me? Think about it. Cloud Dance heart read a move. The body's strength once again accelerated the speed of the circumflex. With the increase of that speed, the speed of absorbing power of your body is faster and faster, and the gap between the speed instilled in the jade brand is smaller and smaller. Just when the speed of Cloud Dance is about to catch up, as long as it is faster, the strength between the bodies will be balanced again. Clinker, the jade brand, seems to be provoked, and the speed will soar again. More than ever before, the majestic power directly poured into the body of Yunwu. Just for a moment, Yunwu felt as if his body was going to be burst by the force. There were green tendons on the skin, and the blood vessels under the skin became red. What's the matter? Mu Xiaoming stands up in an instant. Seeing that Yunwu has nothing to do, he thinks the inheritance is very simple. But I didn't expect that soon after entering the peak of Emperor Wu, the speed of that power was faster than once, and finally it was almost invisible to the naked eye. At this time, Yunwu immediately became extremely painful. Mu Xiaoming's voice awakened all the people waiting. It was 2 hours since the last breakthrough, and their waiting was a little tired, but they didn't expect to change at this time. Huating and others also stand up from the ground and frown one after another. As expected, they see that the situation of Cloud Dance is very bad. Mu Xiaoming hurried forward, and he almost arrived at the same time as the figure of the dragon. Sister Yun suddenly became like this. What's the matter? Huolinger said anxiously. Although she had pills on her body and knew when each pill was used, she didn't know what was the situation of Yunwu now, so no matter how anxious she was, she didn't care if she was given any pills. Let me see. Mu Xiaoming said and went forward directly. He grasped Yunwu's wrist and put his sleeve finger on her pulse. Long Qingxia stares at the fingers on Yunwu's wrist and tries to resist the impulse to peel him off. He is also very anxious. At this time, I began to think, why don't I know medicine? After Mu Xiaoming felt his pulse, he spoke very fast, but he enunciated clearly and said, it's because the strength is too huge. Xiao's body can't keep up with the speed of absorption. Now her body is in a mess. This words a fire spirit son immediately understand oneself should do what? Hurriedly took out a pill from the space of carry on. As soon as the pill appeared, the whole square was filled with danxiang. At a glance, we knew it was a high-quality pill. Then it was put into Yunwu's mouth. This Linger, how can you have this elixir? One side of the fire Lin a face shocked looking at fire spirit son. How many pills Huolinger has? As Huolinger's tutor, he knows how many pills he has. However, even the whole Huasher town may not be able to take out such a good pill, let alone her. When I was in the Xuanzi ear room, Sister Yun found it and gave it to me. Fire spirit son had also don't return of say. Eyes still tightly stare at Cloud Dance. Eyes are full of worry. Once again the people in Flint were shocked. Today they are really stimulated too much. Now they know that Yunwu is able to give such pills to others. It can be seen that she is a worthy friend. But now, people's minds are all on the safety of Yunwu. The pill was melted at the entrance. As soon as it was put into Yunwu's mouth, it turned into a cool force and penetrated into Yunwu's body. Yunwu only felt that his body, which was going to be burst, suddenly got into a cool force. Compared with the force that he had been instilled, it was extremely cool. The collar was like a catalyst, which made the speed of energy operation in his body faster, and was close to the speed of the power in the jade brand. Cloud Dance finally breathed a sigh of relief. The body surface also slowly recovered. That's great. It's a good pill. Huolinger confidently said that she was really worried to death just now. Mu Xiaoming felt the pulse for Yunwu again and said, it's much better, but we can't take it lightly. The strength in her body is still accumulating. If there is any abnormality again, we must give her medicine in time. It's important to help her in the future. Now it's getting shorter and shorter to close the tomb, but the Cloud Dance doesn't mean to stop at all. If the inheritance fails in the end, I'm afraid they will all stay here. Mu Xiaoming's words just remind Huating on one side. Just because of the safety problem of Yunwu, he forgot the closing time of the tomb. At this time, after reminding, he suddenly remembered. This is a careful calculation. Found that the distance to close only half an hour. No. The grave is closing, Huating said in a hurry, but after seeing the cloud dance, he didn't wake up at all. When Huating said that, people in Wuxia town finally understood the meaning of Huating. If it was before, Huating might have a hint of waiting for the cloud dance. But just now he saw the safety of Yunwu. At this time, he was more determined to leave. He could not press the fate of the whole Flint town here. Little 9 girls, where is the exit of this tomb? Huating turns his head and asks Xiaojiu. Small 9 raised an eye to see him, one eye, light of ask away. You want to leave? Yes. Huating said firmly. Although a little ashamed as the city leader, I have to leave anyway. Please forgive me. If I stay in the tomb, I'm afraid that the fate of Flint town will be unpredictable for hundreds of years. What's more, this time, I'm bringing most of the elite of Flint town. Please understand. I'm worried about Miss Yunwu's safety, but... A trace of shame flashed on Huating's face. You are welcome, Lord of Fire. Dragon Qing evil light mouth. From the beginning you are protecting her, is enough. We naturally can't let you bear the risk. Fire City Lord's worry can understand. Fire Tongue heart a burst of relaxed, but then more guilt. In that case, I'll show you a way. Small 9 Light said, although for Fire Tongue's behavior is not very like, but think of his master and the other side seems not much friendship, and the other side has helped a lot. Then feel that they should also let them leave. From here down that road is the exit. Little 9 pointed to the most remote road, and said to Huating, that road is not very difficult, but it is much narrower than other roads. Moreover, other roads can pass through some ear chambers, but that road is a dark one. In the end, there is nothing. For those who come to search for treasure, they will not take this road in any case, but it is this road that is the way to leave the tomb. Fire Tongue looked, but in the heart is for small 9 words is very trust. At the moment arched hand, said, thank you. Then he stood up and said to Hualinger, who was still guarding the cloud dance, Linger, let's go. Hualinger reluctantly looks at the cloud dance and frowns tightly. Linger. The fire heaved again. Hualinger pursed her mouth, twisted her head and said, I'll stay and take care of Sister Yin. Sister Yin will be okay. This word's Fire Tongue directly froze. I only think of Wuxia town, but I forget that Hualinger and Yunwu have long been friends. How can I leave with myself? Long Qingxia looks at Hualinger in surprise. Unexpectedly, this little girl is so affectionate. She can't help but praise her in her heart. This is not for fun. You'd better go back with us and wait for Miss Yunwu to come out. Hualin frowned and went forward to say, as a teacher of Hualinger, Hualinger is afraid of him sometimes. But recently, I don't know what happened. Hualinger didn't pay any attention at all. After listening to his words, he just said, I don't want to stay. Sister Yin needs to be taken care of. I won't leave until she's okay. Hualin saw that Hualinger had made up his mind. He was afraid that he couldn't persuade Hualinger to succeed, so he had to look at Huatung. Linger, are you serious? Huating asked, frowning. Seriously. Hualinger affirmed. Sister Yin saved my life, but for her, I would have died in the grave, so I must stay. If it wasn't for Yunwu's taking over Xiaojiu and defeating the man beside Mulan, Hualinger, who was alone at that time, would have been killed long ago. How could he hold a lot of treasures around Yunwu? As soon as Hualinger said that, Huating knew that he could not persuade him. Well, in that case you can guard Miss Yunwu for me in Flint town, said Huating with a sigh. Hualinger nodded, his eyes firm. Later, Huating and others said goodbye to the people, and left the tomb in a hurry. With them, there are many people who go back to the grave to search for treasure. When they find that they can't take the treasure out anyway, they finally give up. The time for the tomb to be closed has finally come. And only Long Qingxia, Mu Xiuming, Lin Yuntong, Xiaojiu and Hualinger are still with Yunwu. The square, which was originally hot and noisy, is very cold now. From time to time, Mu Xiuming feels the pulse for Yunwu, and pays attention to the change of the power in Yunwu. Hualinger has fed her 3 pills in succession, but Yunwu still doesn't wake up. Instead, the power in Yunwu begins to accumulate again. The master is breaking through again? Small Nine surprised to see Cloud dance. Originally, I thought that the Cloud dance was just enough to give up the power behind, but I didn't expect that after waiting so long. Did Cloud dance intend to break through to the Wuling realm? As soon as the words came out, several people's hearts were almost raised to their voices at the same time. They stared at Yunwu without blinking, for fear that something might go wrong. Cloud dance only feels that the power in the body has accumulated to the extreme again. And breaking through the bottleneck of Wuling is not the same as several times before. This time, the bottleneck is more difficult. If it is not successful, I'm afraid it will bring strong trauma to the body. But even so, she still didn't give up. The power in her body rotated one after another, accumulating in each rotation. Finally, the strength has accumulated to the present. Even if there is still constant strength to instill in, Yunwu feels that the strength in the body is so full that it can't even work for a week. It's time to break through. Cloud dance thought in the heart. Then with one go, mobilized all the strength in the body, directly toward the bottleneck. As if by electric shock general, when the power hit the bottleneck, Yunwu shivered all over, followed by severe pain. But even so, the bottleneck did not even have a crack. I don't believe it. You can't break through a little Wuling. Cloud dance said coldly in the heart, once again mobilize the strength of the body, constantly toward that layer of bottleneck impact up. Not once, twice. Not twice, 3 times. In any case, we must break through the realm of Wuling. Boy, you must succeed. Long Qingxia felt the change of Cloud dance power, and could not help thinking in his heart. The power in the body is constantly consumed in collisions, and then quickly absorbs the fresh power instilled into the body, becoming more powerful, and then consumed in collisions. In this way, the process of constant repetition, Cloud dance around the body as if breathing in general, constantly weak will be strong. Finally, the Cloud dance gathered a very powerful force to hit the bottleneck. Bo, the bottleneck that has been hit extremely fragile, broke up in an instant under this powerful blow. Like a vast ocean of power, they rushed to the realm of Wuling. It's like the people who have been imprisoned in a closed space for a long time are finally liberated and enter the free world. The pain in the body disappears instantly. Wuling. Dragon's eyes suddenly brightened, and his eyebrows were filled with pride and joy. At the same time, one side of the small 9 breath suddenly changed, that because of the contract with Cloud dance and was suppressed in the realm of Emperor Wu's strength, and then Cloud dance promotion, also instantly into the realm of Wuling. Small 9 body twist, instantly turned into a white fox, behind 9 hairy tail. The whole body is suffused with white light, but only the size of an ordinary fox. This is her special mimicry, looks both lovely and charming. A coquettish fox call. Small 9 one pair of slender fox eyes comfortable narrow up. Strength promotion, let her feel very comfortable. Small 9 also promoted? Mu Xiaoming screamed and waited for Xiaojiu to see it for a long time. Finally he vomited out. It's better to be a summoner. The master will upgrade, and he will also upgrade. Small 9 white he one eye, obviously is fox form, but still like a person comfortable a lazy waist, then the body a twist, that appearance charm, graceful small 9 will appear again. Everyone was relieved. Seeing that Yunwu broke through the Wuling realm, they thought that Yunwu would wake up next. Clinker this time, sudden change. The strength of Cloud dance is improved, and the following is the disappearance of the space prohibition in the tomb. The summoners who have lost their sense and all kinds of treasures on them have come back to contact with themselves. Cloud dance clearly felt that the strength of their summoners increased greatly one by one, and all of them were promoted to the realm of Wuling. Then, the connection with Hyo appeared again, and the connection with Chaos Hall also came back. The map of the tomb in my mind is clearer than before. Cloud dance in the heart of a burst of joy. Know that this is the reason for their acceptance of more heritage. But the next moment, the jade card seems to be unwilling to be absorbed in this way, and the power of pouring in becomes bigger again. Yunwu immediately regained her mind and devoted herself to the acceptance and inheritance. The strength of the former Emperor Wu was not enough after he was promoted to Wuling. But even so, Cloud Dance in the absorption speed increased several times, compared with the speed of Jade Card is still small C Big Witch. No, Cloud Dance in the heart is surprised, only feel the body pain feeling more and more strong. The power of the speed is faster and faster. Mu Xiaoming eyebrows jump, immediately ordered. Ling, medicine fire spirit sun crispness living of promise. Immediately put a medicine into the body of Cloud Dance. But this time it didn't calm down like before. I don't know if Yunwu's body has developed resistance. The pill is fed in again, but the speed of Yupai is more fierce. Related to it, Yunwu's body is instantly red. Under the skin, the tendons burst up. Originally, the body was a little bit thin. At this time, Yunwu directly became a fat man. The clothes on the body are windless and automatic, hunting like self-explosion. What's the matter? Quillinger was worried for a moment, and fed another pill into it, but it still had no effect. No more feeding. Long Qingxia drank coldly in a low voice. Now is the last stage of inheritance. She can only solve it by herself. If she feeds her pills again, she will burst and die. This words Mu Xiaoming directly stupefied. How can it be? On her own? What if she can't take it? Mu Xiaoming roared anxiously. He's right. Small Nine light voice, eyes staring at Cloud Dance, just has been immersed in the joy of promotion. Unexpectedly forget this stubble. Now think about it, can't help but tremble. Master now can only rely on themselves, whether it is pills or other. As long as it is external force, will let the master can't absorb, finally just destroy. This is also the most dangerous place in the inheritance, either Cloud Dance to support the past, or burst to death. What if she can't take it? Do you really want to die here? Mu Xiaoming asked with a frown. There's another way. Small Nine said. Let the master give up inheritance, strength back to inheritance before. Mu Xiaoming was stunned. Then he rushed directly to Yunwu and said, Xiaowu, don't mess around. If you can't bear it, please give up, okay? Life is the most important. The words haven't finished, directly by Long Qingxia to carry the neck to throw behind. Long Qingxia's eyes were also full of worry. He looked at the Cloud Dance, but what he said was telling Mu Xiaoming. Don't disturb her, she will be square. What happened around Cloud Dance has no mind to manage. She now a thought is how long her body can persist. When Mingming was promoted to Wuling, his meridians had been tempered everywhere. Compared with ordinary people, his physical quality was much stronger. But now it seems that it is still too weak. Under the impact of that force, there is the possibility of explosion at any time. Do you really want to give up and go back to the strength before entering the grave? Cloud Dance said with a sigh in the heart. In the body's bearing is more and more big, but also can clearly feel that it is their limit immediately. Cloud Dance heart even has the meaning of giving up. No way. Cloud Dance in the heart a cold drink. Now at this time, I'm afraid that the tomb has been closed. If I give up at this time, I'm afraid that I can only stay in the tomb from now on. And I don't know when the next tomb will be opened. Are you really willing? There are so many friends with you. Do you want them to stay here for decades because of their own relationship? No. Cloud Dance heart a Lin immediately gritted teeth to insist down. The feeling of swelling and pain of the body is getting stronger and stronger. And finally it almost tears Yunwu apart. But Cloud Dance can only gnash one's teeth, while enduring the severe pain, while desperately speeding up their own cultivation speed. Finally to the limit. Yunwu felt as if there was a tight string in her mind, which suddenly broke away. Her long-standing insistence disintegrated in an instant. Are you going to die? Yunwu thought vaguely. When the dangerous voice in his mind sounded, Yunwu knew that he could not hold on. Just at this time, the Chaos Hall, which had just resumed contact, suddenly trembled. A trace of the majestic power in the body was squeezed into the sea of knowledge. When approaching the Chaos Hall, he was suddenly sucked in by the Chaos Hall. Then the whole Chaos Hall trembled violently, and Yunwu could almost feel the excitement of Chaos Hall. The next moment, the first and second floors of the Hall of Chaos were opened. Like two bottomless caves, they happily absorbed the majestic power in Yunwu's body. The almost visible power is continuously inhaled into the Chaos Hall, but the meaning of the Chaos Hall is not affected at all. What's the matter? Cloud Dance is suffering from incomparable pain. Suddenly feel that the body pain seems to have disappeared a lot. Consciousness has become a little clearer. This is a detailed look. Found that the power absorbed into the body is flowing towards the Chaos Palace. Chaos Hall? Is it what Hyo needs? Cloud Dance thinks away. But Black AO doesn't know how to return a responsibility, although already restored and Cloud Dance of contact, but seemed to be busy. What general? Didn't answer her words at all. The power of inheritance in the jade metal is still pouring in, and Chaos Hall has no weakness, swallowing all the power that makes Yunwu feel uncomfortable. Cloud Dance a look, suddenly surprised. If you go on like this, you won't get that inheritance? So simply put everything behind you and continue to absorb that power. Now that you have the help of Chaos Hall, the pain in your body is slowly disappearing. You can see that the speed of Chaos Hall is much faster than that of Yupai. If you absorb some more at this time, you can just improve your strength. You don't have to worry that your body can't bear it. How have you been? Mu Xiaoming looks at Yunwu's body and recovers. He just wants to feel his pulse, but he is directly photographed by Long Qingxia. Don't touch it. Just now her body is still very high. Now if you touch it, it will hurt her. Long Qingxia coldly said, although the reason is very legitimate, but the heart is still not willing to let Mu Xiaoming touch her. Mu Xiaoming stares at him and shrinks his hand. Who let others say it right? After that, the power became extremely stable. No matter how fast the Yupai was, it could not match the speed of Chaos Hall. It must be because no matter how old the Yupai was, it was only the key of Summoner's inheritance. It could not be equal to the treasure like Chaos Hall, so it had to obediently submit. Little by little, Yunwu doesn't know how long he has been practicing. He only knows that he has never opened his eyes since he closed them. After entering the Wuling realm, it becomes extremely difficult to promote, and the speed is much slower. After absorbing for a long time, it only reaches the middle stage of Wuling, and then the speed is slower. An inheritance has to stop. Yupai couldn't fight Chaos Hall in the end, and the speed slowed down slowly. It's over. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. Chaos Temple suddenly trembles. The two black holes that constantly absorb power suddenly stop. Yunwu was surprised, and then the third door of Chaos Hall opened slowly. Chaos Hall, the third floor. The cloud dances to know the sea. The shocked eyes look at that slowly open the third layer gate, for a moment unexpectedly speechless. The first floor students. Second floor dead door. What is the third level? Yunwu can't wait. Just after the absorption of the Chaos Hall stopped, the jade plate seemed to admit defeat. The power of inheritance has completely entered Yunwu's body, and the map of the tomb clearly appeared in his mind. At the same time, there is also a voice that seems to come from ancient times. From today on, I will be the successor of Chun Lao. May what I have learned in my life be able to wish you the best. Yunwu moved in his heart and remembered Chen's words. As soon as his consciousness flashed, he went into the third layer of Chaos Hall to explore the mysterious third layer. The third floor of Chaos Palace. What Yunwu didn't know was that when her consciousness entered the third layer, her Numenon suddenly disappeared in the square of the tomb. What happened? Mu Xiaoming opened his eyes. Just a few people are still nervous looking at Yunwu, for fear that she can't survive. How suddenly people disappeared. As soon as he turned his head, he saw the dragon's face behind him. Even the breath completely disappeared. The dragon tilted and squinted and said that he had explored all around quietly, but he didn't find anything. The cloud dance would have disappeared out of thin air. Long tilted his head to look at Xiaojiu and asked, should there be a connection between you and her? Small 9 eyebrows micro pick, Light said. Yes, but in my induction, the host is still before the place did not leave. What? Mu Xiaoming said. How can it be? There is no one here. The dragon tilted and frowned. Stood up and went to the place where Yunwu had just stayed. He reached out and touched it in the air, but he didn't touch anything. If you just hide your body, at least you should be able to touch it. Long leans and frowns, saying that he doesn't know what happened to Yunwu. But his intuition tells him that Xiaojiu's reaction won't go wrong. The master is still there, but it seems it's blocked by something. Small 9 said. Specific I don't know, but should be back soon. Wait for the master to come back, you ask again. At least for now, the master will not be in danger. Several people looked at each other, but Xiaojiu had already said so, and they could only believe it. Because of the contract, if something happens to Yunwu, Xiaojiu will respond. Now that Xiaojiu has nothing, Yunwu must be safe. At that moment, the crowd sat down again, quietly waiting for Yunwu to appear again. At this time, Yunwu didn't know that he had entered the third floor of Chaos Hall with his real body. The third floor of Chaos Hall is different from the first two, and the space area of the whole third floor is not very large. But it's not small. There is no lighting, but it looks very bright. There are milky white walls all around. The runes on the walls are looming, and there is a huge array carved on the ground. The array is now dim. Yunwu looked around curiously, but he couldn't see the magic of the third layer. What on earth is this for? Cloud Dance frowns to think of. The whole third floor looks very open. You can have a panoramic view of the whole floor at a glance. When you walk around, you can see the end. It's like a big playground, which can accommodate tens of thousands of people. Yunwu slowly walked to the third floor gate, reached out and stroked it. Suddenly, several lights and shadows appeared on the empty gate. Light and shadow slowly gathered into two words. The sight of cloud dancing was attracted in the past. Demon. There are 8 of them, which are divided into 4 life and 4 death. Now it seems that every floor of the Chaos Hall has something to do with the strange door Duanjia. Cloud Dance murmured, frowning and thinking. What kind of door is this Demon? Demon is one of the 4 gates of life. When it is used in the Palace of Chaos, it will certainly play a defensive role. It can save people's name at a critical moment, or help people out of danger. Be able to get out of danger. Yunwu raised his hand and rubbed his temple. Suddenly he thought of something. He lowered his head and touched his right hand with his left hand. He felt the powerful pulse of his wrist. Yunwu was suddenly stunned. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.